Chapter 14:10. Yun Shishir smiled and said, outside of filming, Gu Xingze is a senior who takes good care of his juniors. He gives me a lot of pointers. Sometimes, when there are areas where I'm lacking in filming, he would patiently point it out. The chief editor was dissatisfied with her ambiguous answer, so she threw another bombshell and pursued relentlessly. Obviously, she was deliberately creating a gimmick. Is Xingze your ideal type? As soon as she said this, even Yun Shishir was stunned. She looked at the chief editor who asked the question and saw the burning desire in her eyes, as well as ambition. She suddenly understood the chief editor's intention. It was obvious that she had set up so many difficult questions so that she could get an explosive answer from her mouth. This question was extremely tricky. If she answered, yes, then, following this topic, the chief editor would throw out more difficult questions, and even some disgusting ones. If she answered, no, then this answer might not be too offensive. Moreover, the production team and crew had recently been hyping up the scandal between her and Gu Xingze to gain popularity. Although this method was somewhat despicable, it was Qin Zhou's method and also the studio's plan. If she ruined it, Qin Zhou would definitely give her a scolding. Yun Shishir pondered for a moment and then gave an almost impeccable answer. I believe that Xingze is the ideal type in the hearts of many girls. Her answer was so cunning that the chief editor couldn't find any fault with it, let alone find a way to start. Andy, on the other hand, was stunned. She thought that Yun Shishir would definitely use this topic to hype up the scandal between her and Gu Xingze. She didn't expect her to perfectly avoid this topic. She couldn't help but look at Yun Shishir suspiciously. She felt that this person was very strange. She clearly had such a good opportunity to create hype, but she didn't do it. What was the meaning of this? Could it be that she was playing hard to get? The chief editor was obviously very angry, and he continued to throw out one difficult question after another. Then, do you think Xingze is your type? Of course. In the movie, I played Yin Xiaochuan and chased him so hard. Do you think Xingze is a perfect idol? Without a doubt, he is a perfect idol and a respectable senior. The chief editor was once again rendered speechless by her reply. Do you think you're Xingze's ideal type? Well, you'll have to ask Senior Xingze. In the movie, Yang Mi's character has many scenes with Xingze. Between you and Yang Mi, who do you think is closer to his ideal type? I'll do it. The chief editor's eyes lit up. This Yun Shishir actually dared to answer in such a way. Yang Chang was her senior, and she actually dared to disrespect her senior. This answer was really explosive. Thus, she kissed him relentlessly. Why? With a mischievous smile, Yun Shishir begged for mercy, because we're acting as a couple. Please don't break us up, okay? The chief editor didn't know whether to laugh or cry at her witty reply. She was angry and speechless, but when she looked at Yun Shishir's mischievous begging for mercy, she couldn't get angry no matter what. This artiste was probably the most helpless artiste she had ever interviewed. Chapter 14:11. But this girl didn't know how to go with the flow. She couldn't be blamed. When the interview ended, she couldn't help but say, Yun Shishir, I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to make use of it. What a waste of your manager's efforts to ask me to take care of you. You don't know how to take advantage of the situation. It would be a miracle if you could become famous. Yun Shishir smiled and said, thank you for your kind words. If the movie is released and the box office is a hit, I'll treat you to tea. The editor-in-chief was completely speechless, but she was also touched by her honest and cute side. Her unpretentious manner was rare in the entertainment industry. Andy was about to leave when she suddenly thought of something. She walked up to Yun Shishir with a hostile expression. Yun Shishir looked at her warily. Just as she thought that she was going to make things difficult for her, Andy asked suspiciously, just now, why didn't you answer according to the script? What? Don't play dumb. Andy carried her bag and looked cold and arrogant. I just secretly looked at the interview draft. The script was obviously mainly about the rumored relationship between you and Xingze. Why didn't you answer according to the script and deviated from the main topic? She had just seen the interview draft. The main topic of the interview, other than promoting the movie, was mainly about her and Gu Xingzi's recent rumored relationship. In the end, her few replies deviated from the main topic. The editor-in-chief was so angry that she didn't know what to ask in the end. Previously, in Andy's eyes, Yun Shishir was a shrewd newcomer. As a newcomer who had just debuted, she had accepted a role in a film directed by Lin Fengtian. She even had a hot scandal with Gu Xingzi that swept the hot search list on Weibo. If she wasn't scheming and shrewd, how could she have made it this far? She had entered the entertainment industry, and now, she knew how muddy the waters were. She knew that in a place like the entertainment industry, not many female celebrities were quiet. Most of them had sugar daddies supporting them. Yun Shishir was no exception. She had also thought that Yun Shishir was a scheming woman who wanted to make use of Gu Xingzi to gain popularity. She thought that Yun Shishir was a white lotus who would do anything to gain popularity. In the end, she clearly had such a good opportunity, but she didn't take advantage of it. This made her a little confused. Yun Shishir's face was cold as she said truthfully, because I forgot to memorize the script. Andy was stunned for a moment before he flew into a rage out of humiliation. You forgot to memorize the script? Please. Do you not value this interview that much? An exclusive interview with Bazaar Fashion was a symbol of status in the industry. Many female stars could only dream of it. Yun Shishir had Qin Zhou as her backer, so she was accepted as an exception. She was given an interview script, but she didn't memorize it. There was such a thing. Yun Shishir said indifferently, "It's not that I don't pay enough attention to it. That is, I just don't like acting in real life." Andy was completely stunned. Yun Shishir continued, "Acting is my job. Work is work, but in reality, I want to stay true to myself. I don't want to be an actress in real life." After she finished speaking, there was a dead silence. Andy looked at her in shock. She didn't expect her to answer like this. After a long silence that felt like a century, Andy suddenly burst out laughing. "What are you laughing at?" she asked suspiciously. Chapter 14:12. Andy replied, "You're really. I've been in the industry for so many years, but I've never seen such a strange artiste like you." She actually said that she didn't want to act outside of work. But wasn't the entertainment industry like this? Although it looked glamorous on the surface, many sugar daddies despised the male and female artistes in the entertainment industry. This was because once they entered the entertainment industry, they had to wear a mask for the rest of their lives. Acting in front of fans, acting in front of the director, and acting in front of the audience. What was even more ridiculous was that some female artistes and male artistes got married because of benefits. After they got married, they went their separate ways and each had their own sugar daddies. Could you imagine that? Facing the person whom she had been with for her entire life, she still had an ambiguous relationship with her sugar daddies. Her worldview was completely turned upside down. Hence, from what she knew, Yun Shishir should be such a woman. She especially despised her. But Yun Shishir had completely changed her worldview. She obviously had the chance, but she didn't take advantage of it. She was different from those female artistes who used all their effort and schemes to get to the top. Andy had initially thought that Yun Shishir was acting in front of her. However, after this short period of interaction, her gaze never left her. She couldn't tell that she was acting at all. She was a very straightforward woman. She had been in the industry for so many years and had already trained her sharp eyes. She could tell if someone was acting or not. Yun Shishir was a woman who didn't act at all. Hence, she had become a fan of Yun Shishir. Putting everything else aside, just the fact that Yun Shishir didn't bother to use Gu Xingzi to create hype was enough for her to admire her. Hence, Andy suddenly pursed her lips awkwardly and said a little guiltily, "Yun Shishir, I'm sorry. Previously, I thought that you were like those women in the entertainment industry who used all their effort to get to the top. I've wronged you. If I've offended you earlier, please forgive me." Yun Shishir curved her lips and then laughed nonchalantly, It's nothing. If I must apologize, I want to apologize to you too. Andy raised his eyebrows, but he didn't understand what she meant. Yun Shishir confessed, actually, Gu Xingza and I are not a couple. I said that on purpose. Why? Andy was a little surprised. No reason. Yun Shishir cocked a brow and plainly added, I just want you to know that speaking irresponsibly is actually very hurtful. As soon as she said this, Andy was stunned, as if her heart had been pierced by her words. Her expression changed slightly, but there was a hint of guilt and shame. She understood Yun Shishir's intention. He wanted her to put herself in his shoes and feel how hateful it was to speak irresponsibly. From the moment they first met, she had malicious speculations about Yun Shishir. She even used sharp and humiliating words to mock, insult, and slander her. Perhaps she couldn't feel how hurtful her words in front of Yun Shishir were. Hence, Yun Shishir deliberately twisted the truth to make her feel uncomfortable. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said those irresponsible words and maliciously speculated about you. Andy apologized sincerely. She was a magnanimous and straightforward person who spoke her mind. If she was right, she was right. If she was wrong, she would admit it. However, Yun Shishir didn't take it to heart. She shook her head and said, It's okay. We can be friends in the future. Chapter 14:13. She felt that Andy was a good person. Even though Andy had a bad impression of her when they first met, she still did a good job styling her. This at least showed that she wasn't a bad person and was very responsible. Just this point alone proved that she was a person worth befriending. Moreover, after Andy realized her mistake, she apologized sincerely. Yun Shishir was very touched. Yun Shishir reached out her hand to her. Andy lowered his eyes and looked at her deeply. Then, he smiled faintly and took the hand that she offered to him. They held each other's hands tightly. Okay. Before leaving, Andy suddenly asked worriedly, Are you and Xingzhe really not in a relationship? Yun Shishir was defeated. She surrendered helplessly. Please. I never lie. If I'm not, then I'm not. There's no need to lie to you, right? Then, can I ask for some gossip? Andy leaned closer to her curiously. Does Xingzhe have a girlfriend? I don't think so. Yun Shishir said. Don't think so? She was a little doubtful. Yun Shishir said carefully, I don't think so. At least, she hadn't heard of it. Xingzhe and I aren't that close. Andy nodded. Her face was full of joy and her heart was jumping with joy. Shishir, thank you. Andy thanked him from the bottom of his heart. Then, he blew a kiss and left. In the afternoon, Qin Zhou rushed back after receiving a call from Chief Editor Baza. The moment he got back, he gave Yun Shishir a dressing down. Do you know how hard it was for me to get you Bazaar's resources? Didn't you have interview drafts for you to memorize? Didn't you memorize them? I stayed up late to write those drafts for you. I even worked hard to highlight the key points. In the end, you didn't even read them. What were your answers? Qin Zhou was furious. Originally, the matter of the supporting role in the hit drama had been finalized. This was something to be happy about. On the way back, he received a call from the chief editor. She complained about Yun Shishir's uncooperative interview. Qin Zhou was very hurt. Bazaar's interview wasn't something that anyone could do. No matter how many female celebrities tried their best, they might not even be able to get half a page. One had to know that Yun Shishir had just debuted. She didn't have a high status or a high net worth. She was able to get into Bazaar all because of his skills and resources. It was all because of him that she was able to get this interview. In the end, when it came to her, her answer was so willful. The chief editor was so angry that she wanted to cry and laugh at the same time, but she was helpless. Yun Shishir looked at Qin Zhou pitifully, but she obediently allowed him to criticize her without retorting. Shishir, the scandal between you and Xingzhe was planned by both our teams. Moreover, we followed your suggestion back then and you didn't object to it too much. But why didn't you cherish such an opportunity when it was right in front of you? So many artists want to get a share of Xianxia's popularity, but none of them are lucky enough to do so. You have it, so why don't you cherish it? Qin Zhou was puzzled. Yun Shishir said unwillingly, because I want to rely on my own strength. I don't want to use Xianxia to climb up. Qin Zhou was taken aback by her sincere explanation. After a while, he looked at her helplessly and sighed. I know how you feel, but the entertainment industry has such rules. You have to follow them. Chapter 14:14. It was not that easy to carve out a bloody path in the entertainment industry. Moreover, there was no such thing as relying solely on one's ability to make a name for oneself. You should know that I've said before that I've poured a lot of ambition into you. I hope that you can cooperate with me. I've made Xianxia famous, and my goal is to help you become one of the best in the industry. But you're putting me in a difficult position. He said this earnestly as his eyes fell on her. They were very deep and heavy. The meaning behind his words was profound. Yun Shishir suddenly fell silent. Qin Zhou continued, first of all, I've been in the industry for so long. I have many ways to protect you. You don't have to worry about the unspoken rules in the industry. You don't have to accompany me to bed, to dinner, to have fun, or to drink with me. What you need to do, other than relying on your ability, is to cooperate with me. She suddenly said unwillingly, actually, I don't understand. Xianxia has been in the industry for so long, 10 years, and there have never been any scandals about him. He's so popular because of his ability, isn't it? Why can he do it, but I can't? Why could Gu Xianxia become a high-quality idol without any scandals? Why couldn't she? She couldn't figure it out. Silly girl, it's because men and women are different in the entertainment industry. Why? Qin Zhou explained patiently, in the entertainment industry, most of the consumers are women. Generally speaking, women have many beautiful fantasies about their idols. Most of them see their idols as the Prince Charming of their dreams, the nation's husband. Have you ever seen a woman who wants her husband to have an entangled scandal with another woman? When he said this, Yun Shishir suddenly understood. Oh, but women are different. Since women are the main consumers, if a female artist wants to gain exposure, other than relying on her beauty and acting skills, she also has to create a persona. Do you know what else she has to rely on? I understand. She has to satisfy the public's curiosity. Yun Shishir replied. Qin Zhou smiled in relief. You're not too stupid. Women love to watch the fun and gossip. If there was a female celebrity who was entangled with the male idol in their hearts, they would definitely pay a lot of attention to that female celebrity. This way, we'll have more exposure. But, we'll definitely face a lot of serious injuries and malicious speculation. Just like Andy today. That's understandable. Qin Zhou smiled, but he didn't deny it. He said frankly, in the initial stage of this hype, you'll suffer a lot of malicious slander. Putting everything else aside, just your Weibo alone will definitely be crushed by Xianxia's army of fans. So, during this time, don't go on Weibo and read the comments. It would have been better if he hadn't said anything. Once he did, Yun Shishir felt terrified. Gu Xianxia's fans were known as the United Nations Army. The reason for this description was that Gu Xianxia's fans came from different nationalities. There was a huge number of them and it was a spectacular sight. It was said that he had broken the record of 100 million fans. 100 million, this was just the number of fans registered on the official website. Those who had not been recorded yet were not included. With such terrifying data, Yun Shishir naturally felt an inexplicable fear. Shishir, I want you to understand something. Chapter 14:15. Yun Shishir shook her head blankly. I don't know, she couldn't understand the meaning behind Qin Zhou's words. He commented, it's because it's not like Starbucks, which is widely known but not famous. Yes. Qin Zhou suddenly said, let's make an assumption then. Suppose one day, Xianxia came to this shop on a whim, ordered this cup of coffee, took a photo, and posted it online. Then, wouldn't this cup of coffee attract a lot of attention? Yes. This is exposure and the effect of fans. This way, Xianxia's fans will notice this coffee shop. They might even come and order the same coffee as Xianxia, and this shop will become famous. Yin Shishir suddenly understood what Qin Zhou was trying to say. Qin Zhou continued to explain, maybe Gu Xianxia's fans have a bad attitude when they come into contact with you. But at least they're paying attention to you. If you do well enough and the fans see it, they'll turn from haters to fans. However, if you don't expose this piece of jade, there will never be a day where you will be noticed by others. The entertainment industry is full of talents. You've just debuted, so you have to find more opportunities to show yourself and get the public's approval. After a pause, he added, so, the so-called hype is just a chance for the public to pay attention to you and give you a chance to show yourself. Do you understand? Yin Shishir nodded. I understand. Qin Zhou held her shoulders with a serious expression and said in a deep voice, listen, Shishir. Many times, an artist is like a product, and a product needs marketing and packaging. You should understand this principle. So, you have to follow my orders in the future. Don't worry, I won't harm you. Yin Shishir was silent for a long time before she nodded slowly. I understand, Qin Zhou. I'll do my best to cooperate with you in the future. Yes. Only then did Qin Zhou nod with a smile. He raised his hand to rub her head and patted it gently, as if he was an elder caring for a junior. Shishir, sometimes you're really smart. You understand what I'm saying to you immediately. You're a good learner. After Yin Shishir left the company, she was still thinking about Qin Zhou's words. There's no such thing as fairness in this circle. There's only the law of the jungle. It's a simple and crude principle. I hope you understand. Deep down, she was actually very unwilling to create a scandal with Gu Xianxia. The reason was because she felt that it would be very troublesome for her. Obviously, there was no such thing, but she had to use it to create public opinion and achieve the goal of creating a publicity stunt. It was really, quite despicable. However, it seemed that this was the rule of the circle. If they didn't follow it, they would face the danger of being eliminated. In that case, she should also put down those thoughts that she shouldn't have and follow Qin Zhou's orders to do everything well. Yin Shishir had just walked out of the company when the driver had not arrived yet. His phone suddenly rang. She picked up the phone, and a charming and sexy voice came from the other end, "Baby, where are you?" His deep and magnetic words tugged at her heartstrings. Yin Shishir was shocked. She glanced at the caller ID and realized that it was from an unknown number. She asked warily, "Who are you?" Chapter 14:16. Yin Shishir was stunned for a moment before she chuckled. "Shao Jia, it's you? I didn't recognize you just now." Sorry. Sis, where are you now? I'll treat you to a cup of tea." "I'm at the office." Gong Jia asked for the address and said that he would be there soon. In less than 10 minutes, a Porsche stopped at the entrance. Gong Jia opened the car door and got out. He walked in front of Yin Shishir and gave her a gentlemanly bow. He kissed her cheek. "Beautiful lady, sorry to keep you waiting." Yin Shishir giggled and looked at him. "You've learned the etiquette quite well. Where did you learn it?" Gong Jia smiled warmly and explained, "When I was young, I learned it from my family's etiquette teacher." Not long after he returned to the Gong family, he began to learn the etiquette of the upper class. As one of the heirs of the Gong family, it was necessary for him to have excellent aristocratic etiquette. Gong Jia asked gently, "Sis, I'll treat you to a cup of tea. Do you have a place to recommend?" The adoration in his words was obvious. Just as Yu had said, even Gong Jia himself did not realize that he was a senior sistercon. He lowered his head and looked at Yin Shishir with eyes that hid too much tenderness. If his subordinates were to see this scene, they would definitely be shocked. One had to know that, in their eyes, Gong Jia was an extremely cold and scheming person. He rarely smiled, but when he did, the shrewd and scheming glint in his eyes would make one's hair stand on end and shudder in fear. Probably, no one had ever seen him show such a gentle and doting smile to anyone. His eyes, which were usually cold and stern, were slightly curved at this moment, as if many small stars were hidden in them. His handsome eyes were like stars. They were really like stars. Yinshishi looked at him and could not help but fall into a daze. She still remembered that when she was young, she and Gong Jie stood together. Many people said that they looked very similar, as if they were cast from the same mold. The adults all said that it was rare to see twins that looked so similar, especially those eyes. They were exactly the same. At that time, she had also cut her hair short and wore the same clothes as the Gong Jie. When they stood together, it was impossible to tell who was who. They even made a lot of jokes. She remembered that her mother had once bathed her. After she was done, she went out to sign for a package and came back to bathe her again. In the end, she realized that she had mistaken her for Shao Jie, so she washed her face again. There were many such blunders because she looked too similar to Gong Jie. Even after so many years, when she stood next to him, she still had the illusion that she was looking into a mirror. The only difference was that Gong Jie had an arrogant and fierce aura. His hairstyle was different, and his figure was different as well. However, their faces were very similar. Therefore, she could even see the shadows of Yu Yu and Shao Yichen in his eyes. Genes were really a mysterious thing. When Gong Jie saw that she kept staring at his face, he could not help but touch his face and raise his eyebrows suspiciously. "Why do you keep staring at me?" "It's nothing." Yinshishi paused for a moment and laughed. "It's just that I found something rather strange." "What is it?" "Look at your eyes. They're so beautiful." Chapter 14-17. Yinshishi slowly inched closer to him. "Your eyes are exactly the same as mine. Just like when we were young, everyone said that our eyes are very similar." After saying that, she smiled and gently held his handsome face. She intimately touched the tip of his nose and gently rubbed against it. Gong Jie's heart softened and his face turned red. The redness spread from his ears all the way to his cheeks. His heart felt as if it had been pierced open and a warm current was slowly flowing into it. Such an intimate action made him feel emotional all of a sudden. When they were young, their mother liked to rub their noses intimately. Yinshishi, on the other hand, often did such intimate actions with him. In his memories, he could still remember that short and happy time. He and Yinshishi hid under the blanket. At that time, the winter was very cold and there was no electric blanket. The two little guys pitifully hugged the hot water bottle to sleep. In the middle of the night, the hot water bottle turned cold. They woke up from the cold and shivered under the blanket. They hugged each other pitifully to warm each other. Their days were a little difficult. However, there was a plain happiness amidst the bitterness. Thinking of this, Gong Jie said, "Because you're my older sister and I'm your younger brother." After pausing for a moment, a trace of pride appeared on his face. "When we were young, no one could tell who was me and who was you." "Humph. You're still talking about it. When you did something wrong when we were young, when wasn't I the one who took the blame for you?" Yinshishi suddenly complained, feeling wronged. Gong Jie's expression was a little awkward. He apologized weakly, "Sis, I'm sorry. I was wrong." After saying that, he even tugged at the corner of her shirt coquettishly. Yinshishi was tickled by his careful attempt to curry favor with her. She giggled and then said, "All right. It's been so long. I don't blame you anymore." After saying that, she couldn't help but reach out and touch the tip of his nose. "Let's go. I'll treat you to a cup of tea. I know a dessert shop that tastes good. She used to bring you there often." "Okay." Gong Jie helped her into the car and drove away. Just as the car left, not far away, behind the shadow of a tree, a sneaky figure suddenly appeared. It was a paparazzi who was crouching with a camera. Using the shadow of the tree as cover, no one noticed him at all. Even Gong Jie, who was used to being vigilant, didn't notice him. He had been in the industry for many years and was an experienced paparazzi. In order to capture some private shots of celebrities, he would do anything. He lowered his head and flipped through the photo album. He had captured all the intimate scenes between Yun Shishir and Gong Jia, frame by frame. Some of the angles were so tricky that at first glance, one would think that the two were kissing intimately. It was not a waste. He had not squatted for so long. It was not a waste of effort. In fact, he had squatted near the entrance of Huanyu Entertainment. He had initially wanted to take some shots of Gu Xingzi. However, he didn't manage to capture Gu Xingzi. Instead, he managed to capture Yun Shishir. He even managed to capture some valuable shots. In fact, Yun Shishir's shots weren't that expensive. If they were sold to some media, they probably wouldn't be able to fetch a high price. However, that was in the past. It was different now. Now, Yun Shishir was Gu Xingzi's rumored lover. Moreover, the shots he had taken were very gimmicky. They might be worth some money. Chapter 14:18. Yun Shishir brought Gong Jia to the dessert shop that she used to frequent. It was a very small shop. Unlike the dessert shops in the downtown area, there were a lot of people, but the decoration was very stylish. Therefore, the customers who patronized were all regular customers. Yun Shishir chose a private room and ordered a few signature desserts. Gong Jia rested his chin on one hand and quietly watched her every move. Even if he just looked at her like this, every frown and every smile was enjoyable. After Yun Shishir finished ordering desserts, she turned around and saw him staring at her in a daze. She couldn't help but smile. "Why do you keep staring at me?" Gong Jia said willfully, "I like it." Yun Shishir smiled helplessly. Gong Jia said again, "Because I feel like I can't get enough of you." We've been separated for so long. It's been 15 years. I want to make up for all that I've missed in 15 years. Gong Jia said truthfully. Yun Shishir's heart skipped a beat, and her eyes became as gentle as water. "Shao Jia, I'm very happy and very touched. I never dared to think that I would meet you again in this life." Gong Jia's eyes flashed, and then there was a hint of loneliness in them. He always felt that he seemed to have missed out on a lot of beautiful things. No matter how he tried to make up for it, he felt that this gap was difficult to make up for. The person he loved the most in his heart didn't leave behind any fragments of him in these 15 years. He didn't participate in her youth, didn't participate in her beautiful years, and missed the most important scenes in her life. He was absent from her life, and she was also absent from his life. In these 15 years, they had lost too many things. The desserts were served one after another. Yun Shishir pushed a tiramisu in front of him and smiled. "Try it. The desserts here are amazing." "Okay." Gong Jia nodded and then picked up the spoon to taste it. "How's the taste?" she asked expectantly. Gong Jia nodded slowly. With the spoon in his mouth, his eyes curved slightly. "Not bad. It's very sweet." In fact, he didn't like desserts that much. In the Gong family, he didn't even look at the desserts in the afternoon. "I'm sick of it." However, Yun Shishir ordered something different. He liked it. He liked to enjoy every moment with her. Even if he didn't do anything and just looked at her like this, he wouldn't feel bored. Yun Shishir's gaze suddenly fell on his phone screen that had lit up. It was a rather unique phone. She said it was unique because she had never seen this brand before. It was also a unique style. Out of curiosity, she took it and looked at it. "What brand is your phone? Why haven't I seen it before?" Gong Jia smiled. "This is a satellite phone that we developed ourselves. You can't buy it." Because of his work, he used a satellite phone, which was developed internally by Hurricane Group. Many mobile phones on the market now have security risks. Therefore, the mobile phone he used was a system developed by the company, which was highly confidential. She tapped on it. Unknowingly, the wallpaper on the phone had been changed to the photos she took. Yun Shishir saw it and blushed. She looked up and said angrily, Your wallpaper. When did you change it?" "I changed it a long time ago." Gong Jia smiled slightly. I like your photos the most. They're very beautiful. That day, after he found out about her identity, he went back and searched for many of her photos and fashion shows like a crazy man. Chapter 14:19. Yunshishir blushed. To be honest, she was quite embarrassed that her portrait was being used as wallpaper. It was quite embarrassing. Hence, she said quietly, change it. Gong Jia was slightly surprised and asked suspiciously, why do you want to change it? It feels so embarrassing. Yunshishir covered her face, but she couldn't hide her blushing cheeks. Gong Jia was stunned for a moment, but he couldn't help but laugh. He raised his eyebrows in amusement and said, humph. It turns out that sister can feel embarrassed too. Shao Jia. Yunshishir pretended to be angry and pouted, but her eyes were smiling. Change it. It feels so embarrassing. Gong Jia obviously didn't think much of it. He smiled and said, what's there to be embarrassed about? Sister is so beautiful. I changed my phone wallpaper to yours because I want to see you every night before I go to bed. The first person I see when I wake up is also you. Yunshishir's face turned even redder when he said that. She lowered her eyes and covered her face, but she looked extremely charming. Gong Jia looked at her. He didn't know why, but he felt a little jealous of Yu. This kid had kept him in the dark for so long. He had joined the Hurricane group more than a year ago, but he didn't expect that this kid, who was hailed as a genius of the century, was actually his little nephew. However, even though he felt that it was unfair, he thought about it again. He wasn't by her side, but Yunshishir was silently protected by this kid. He felt satisfied again. Just like that, the two of them spent the whole afternoon at the dessert station. The two of them chatted casually, but most of the time, Yunshishir was talking. Gong Jia sat opposite her, resting his chin on one hand and listening quietly. However, Yunshishir had always avoided talking about what happened when she was 18. She also avoided talking about Yu's biological father. Since she didn't take the initiative to talk about it, Gong Jia didn't ask either. In fact, he had the means to investigate everything that had happened to Yunshishir when she was 18 years old. He could even investigate everything that had happened to her in the past 24 years. But he wanted to hear her tell him. However, there was a trace of melancholy in his heart. There was an inexplicable sense of melancholy. The more Yunshishir spoke, the more he realized that he had missed out on more than just those 15 years. So many things could happen in 15 years. She was bullied in the orphanage, adopted at the age of 9, admitted to a key junior high school at the age of 12, entered puberty at the age of 13, went to university at the age of 18, and even had a child. These were things that he could have witnessed. The more he listened, the more anxious he felt. Gong Jia couldn't help but lower his head, put a cigarette in his mouth, and lit it with familiarity. Following the flickering of the sparks, a wisp of smoke faintly drifted out. He was not a heavy smoker, but when he was upset, he would smoke a cigarette. Yunshishir was stunned by his actions. She looked at him as he sat opposite her, leaning elegantly against the back of the chair. There was a cigarette between his fingers, and his thin lips were lightly sucking on it. Following that, a thin wisp of smoke came out from his lips and nose and dissipated into the air. She was stunned for a moment and instinctively snatched the cigarette from his hand when he took the third puff. Then, she fiercely put it out in the ashtray. Gong Jia's eyes flickered. Sister, when did you learn to smoke? Yunshishir said sullenly, you're not allowed to smoke. Gong Jia was slightly taken aback and chuckled. She was still treating him like a child. Chapter 14:20. In other words, he was no longer a child. Perhaps in her eyes, he was still the little devil who clung to her from 15 years ago. However, he was now an adult and had mastered the rules and games of adult society. You can't smoke either. Yunshishir paused for a moment and snorted coldly. You're not allowed to smoke anymore, okay? Gong Jia was stunned. Yunshishir said angrily, be good and listen to me. I don't like Shao Jia smoking. Gong Jia smiled and rested his chin on his hand. Okay. His deep gaze landed on her face. His usual arrogance had faded away, and he looked docile and docile. I'll listen to you. If she didn't allow him to smoke, then he wouldn't smoke. If she didn't like the way he smoked, then he would never smoke again. He was willing to be her favorite Gong Jia in front of her. That's a good boy. Xianxia was satisfied when she heard that. She reached out and pinched his cheeks. Gong Jia was even more infatuated with her smile. He liked the way she looked when she smiled. It was so gentle and charming. Her beautiful and refined face was like a fairy in a painting. Even if the world stopped at this moment, even if a century passed, he wouldn't get tired of her smile. It was raining heavily outside the window. Gong Jia sent her back to Shangti Walk. Before she left, he returned her purse that she had left in his car and kissed her cheek reluctantly. Sis, can I still look for you often in the future? He asked carefully, his gaze full of hope. Xianxia replied matter-of-factly, of course. It's just that sometimes I don't have time when I'm working. Okay. By the way. Xianxia held an umbrella and stood in the rain. Her voice was gentle as she asked, Shao Jia, what do you do now? Gong Jia fell silent. Xianxia tilted her head, puzzled by his silence. After a moment of dead silence, he smiled warmly and replied, Sis, I'm now running my own company. He gave an ambiguous answer, but concealed part of the truth. As the chief commander of the Hurricane Group, he owned a large amount of shares in the Hurricane Group. However, he did not tell her the truth about the background of the Hurricane Group. He didn't dare to imagine what she would think of him if he told her that a casual order from him was worth billions of dollars. This order might lead to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of civilians. He was afraid of her, afraid of him, disgusted with him, she even avoided him. Therefore, he concealed the truth from her. Xianxia was taken aback. Her eyes widened slightly as she exclaimed, amazing. Shao Jia, you're so young, but you're already so successful. Sister, it's raining heavily. You should go home. Gong Jia avoided the topic and urged her. Xianxia nodded, waved at him, and entered the door. Gong Jia stared thoughtfully at her receding figure. All of a sudden, he rolled up the car window and turned his head to look at her. Back to the office. Yes, young Master Gong. Along the way, Gong Jia sat in the back seat with a slightly complicated expression. Why did she hide the identity of the child's biological father from him? In fact, he knew that Yu Yu was the blood of the Mu family. His biological father was Mu Yaja. When he first found out about the relationship between Yu Yu and Mu Yaja, he was a little surprised but didn't pay much attention to it. However, when he found out that Yu Yu was Xianxia's son and his little nephew, what was the relationship between Mu Yaja and Xianxia? Chapter 14:21. If they were a couple, why was the child already 7 years old? Why didn't they hold a wedding ceremony? Moreover, Mu Yaja and her were both unmarried. He had checked this before. He had investigated Mu Yaja's background. He was not married and did not have a wife. He only had a son. He had always protected his son well, so he did not find a photo of him. However, the information showed that the child was also 7 years old. It was hard not to associate him with Yu Yu. He remembered that Lisa had brought back a child who looked exactly like Yu Yu. This child was probably the child by Mu Yaja's side. Lisa had said that the child and Yu Yu were identical twins. Since Mu Yaja and his sister had 2 children, and one of the children had been acknowledged by the Mu family, what was the relationship between them? Secret lover? Gong Jia was furious when he thought of this word. If she was really Mu Yaja's secret lover, he would not allow his sister to be with this man. Not to mention the feud between the Gong and Mu families, he would not allow his sister to be wronged because of this secret identity. However, judging from his sister's attitude, it did not seem as simple as a secret lover. At first, he suspected that Yu Yu might be Mu Yaja's biological son. However, when he saw Mu Yaja's photo, even if he wanted to doubt it, he did not have the right to do so. The father and son looked very similar. This level of similarity was even greater than the similarity between Yu Yu and Yunshishir. One look and one could tell that they were father and son. Then, what happened when Yunshishir was 18 years old? Were they together? 18 years old was still young and innocent. She should have been enjoying her carefree youth. Why did she have a child at such a young age? So early. Did something happen? Or, was she forced or bullied? Gong Jia clenched his fists when he thought of this possibility. He wanted to punch Mu Yaja into pieces. Damn it, the more he thought about it, the more frustrated he became. In Gong Jia's heart, his hatred for the Mu family had long been integrated into his bones and blood. It was hard to get rid of it. Since he was young, he had been influenced by the Gong family and knew how much his father hated the Mu family. Similarly, he hated the Mu family to the core. Hence, when he was caught off guard by the relationship between Yunshishir and Mu Yaja, he felt lost and did not know how to face the man whom he should address as brother-in-law. This man's blood have that sinner's blood. Sinner's blood. Damn it. He could not accept this fact. Even though he maintained a facade of not knowing the truth in front of Yunshishir, he was still conflicted deep down. Gong Jia stroked his fringe anxiously, his deep-set eyes hidden in the shadows. Yunshishir's schedule was busy again. The casting of Lethal Beauty was almost done. However, for the sake of confidentiality, the 4 main leads and several important supporting actors and actresses were kept a secret. Even Yunshishir did not know who would be playing the roles. She only knew that Lin Ji and Hua Jin would be playing the roles. As for the other supporting roles, the dust had not settled yet. They were still in the midst of casting. Chapter 1422. In this smokeless war, whoever had a strong background would be able to show their faces in this drama. It was a realistic and cruel problem. Yunshishir suddenly realized how terrifying Qin Zhou's methods were. She had just debuted, but she was able to secure important roles in 2 gold medal production teams, The Green Apple and Lethal Beauty. She was well aware that, putting aside her ability, Qin Zhou's methods were also indispensable. If not for Qin Zhou and Lin Fengtian's support, she might not have been able to successfully act in The Green Apple. Similarly, in the production team of Lethal Beauty, Qin Zhou was even more impressive. He had almost taken the lead role for her. Unfortunately, she loved supporting roles more and wanted to challenge this vicious female supporting role. Qin Zhou was often disappointed. However, Yunshishir understood that this was the decision she wanted and she would not regret it. Acting was not just a job, it was also her interest. She was excited to challenge every role that had tension. After the casting of Lethal Beauty, there would be an opening ceremony and she would have to prepare to enter the production team. However, before that, she had to prepare for The Love Diary. This was one of the more important parts of her script. The Love Diary was a reality show on Qinguang's satellite TV about imaginary love. In the show, popular stars formed imaginary lovers and went on an imaginary date show. After the first episode of the show was aired, the first group of imaginary couples quickly became a popular first-tier reality show. Gu Xingza and Yunshishir were the second set of imaginary lovers. The production team had great ambitions and expectations for this set of lovers, and saw them as the absolute guarantee of ratings. The script for the reality show had been sent to Yunshishir's email 2 days ago. Qin Zhou told her to go back and study it seriously. He also sent people to train her to make a last-minute effort to cultivate her sense of variety. It was a reality show. It was not enough to just have good looks. They had to create topics, gimmicks, and laughs. Therefore, it was a test of an artiste's sense of artistry. The moment Yunshishir received the script, she was in a bad mood. The thick stack of scripts made her scalp tingle. She flipped through a few pages. The production team had carefully divided the key points for her. They were very considerate. The Love Diary was divided into 4 units. The first unit was about the heartbeat of first love. In this unit, the 2 artists who were supposed to be a couple first met and started the process of getting to know each other. The script for this unit was especially thick. Of course, even though it was a reality show, the characters were set by the production team. In this reality show, Yun Shishir had to play the role of an innocent and kind schoolbelle. In short, there was only one word to describe her: silly, naive, and sweet. Silly and sweet, she was already the mother of 2 children, but the production team actually had such a bad taste to give her such a persona. Then, he took a look at Gu Xing's character profile, the healer and warm-hearted man-healer. Yun Shishir remained expressionless, thinking back to Gu Xing's usual cold expression, this, just treat it as an idle drama. However, before the show started recording, something terrifying happened. Yun Shishir received a threatening letter. It was not that she had not received threatening letters before. In the past, when there were rumors about her and Gu Xingxia on Weibo, she had received many threatening letters from Gu Xingxia's fans. There were countless of them. Chapter 1423. Some were very uncreative, such as sending razor blades. Some purposely photoshopped her photo into a posthumous photo, clipped it with a chrysanthemum, and wantonly insulted her in the letter. Some even threatened to perish together with her if she did not leave Gu Xingxia. She glanced at them and threw them all into the trash can. Initially, when she received the threatening letters, she was still a little afraid and felt her hair stand on end. However, with the endless number of threatening letters, she gradually became numb. Even when she received another threatening letter, she would throw it away without looking at it. However, this threatening letter was a little different. The threatening letter was first handed to her. She could not hold back her curiosity and opened it to take a look. However, just as she opened the letter, she was surprised to smell a strong scent of blood. She glanced at the letter and saw that it was written with blood. It was a letter written in blood. It was really a letter written in blood. The words on the letter were written in dried blood. Every stroke was written with a force that penetrated the back of the paper. Yun Shishir, you be asterisk tch. You're just a bitch in heat, be asterisk tch, if you continue to pester Xingxia, you'll be hit by a car, struck by lightning, or torn apart by 5 horses. Son of a b asterisk tch, your whole family will be cremated. Xingxia doesn't like you at all. He belongs to our galaxy and doesn't belong to you. Leave him immediately, or else you'll be disfigured by sulfuric acid. All kinds of insults were written on the letter. There were even threats to splash Yun Shishir with sulfuric acid to disfigure her. She was so frightened that her hand trembled and her face turned pale. The letter fluttered to the ground. Yun Shishir happened to pass by and saw the letter in her hand. She shuddered in fear and bent down to pick up the letter that had fallen to the ground. She could not stop her in time and had already scanned through the letter. The moment she saw the words "whole family will be cremated," her face turned ashen. Her eyes were filled with anger. She was furious. She crumpled the letter into a ball and threw it into the trash can. Her chest heaved violently, unable to calm down. This is too much. How can this be? It's fine if you threaten me, but you even cursed my family? Yun Shishir was so angry that her whole body trembled. Her eyes were red and filled with tears. While she felt wronged, she also felt unusually angry. She carefully observed her expression and said with heartache, "Shishir, don't take it to heart. These people are brainless fans and don't think before they speak. How can I not take it to heart?" Yun Shishir retorted angrily, "This person is too much. She even cursed my family to be cremated. She's too uncultured." She had purposely written her name as Corpse Cloud, and insulted her as a bitch in heat. Anyone who saw others cursing them like that would be infuriated. She hadn't reached the stage where she could remain calm even after being insulted like this. What was even more unbearable was that this person actually cursed her entire family to be cremated. She was very. As she was, a person's people as her, as. She was already used to people cursing her, but she couldn't stand it when people cursed her family. Chapter 1424. This is too much, it's really too much. Yun Shishir was so angry that her face turned red. She clenched her fists so tightly that her knuckles turned white. She quickly helped Yunshishir to the sofa and sat her down, comforting her. Shishir, don't be angry. We're about to start recording the show. If you're so angry that your face wrinkles, it won't be easy for you to put on makeup. She deliberately teased her, but Yunshishir remained unmoved. She sat stiffly on the sofa with her hands on her knees clenched tightly. Her face seemed to have been painted white and was abnormally pale. Seeing this, She sighed with heartache. She poured a cup of warm water and handed it to her. She slowly said, Shishir, actually, as a public figure and an artist, such things will happen more often in the future. You should train yourself to have a stronger mentality. As a public figure, you'll be facing malicious speculation, slander, gossip, and even threats from all directions every day and every moment. There are so many people in this world, and not everyone is kind. Besides, humans are selfish, aren't they? Wuxia Xianxia has a lot of fans. Just the registered fans on the official website alone have reached 100 million, breaking the Guinness Book of Records. Those that haven't been recorded have yet to be counted. With such a large base and such a large fan base, there will definitely be a few people with malicious intentions. She spoke step by step. Yunshishir listened quietly, and her body gradually became less stiff. She continued. Shishir, the reason why you're facing so many malicious speculations and slander is because you're outstanding. Sometimes, an outstanding person will emit a dazzling light that stings the eyes of others. So, you don't have to take this matter to heart. I'll get someone to investigate who sent this letter. No need. Yunshishir suddenly forced a smile. There's no need. Just as She said, there was really no need to pay attention to such malicious people. Could it be that after a person was bitten by a mad dog, he would still stupidly bite back? She regained her spirit and said lightly, Ask Ding Ning to do my makeup. She smiled. Okay. After comforting Yunshishir for a while, she hurriedly went out to find Ding Ning to do her makeup. In preparation for the filming of The Love Diary, the production team specially emphasized that they had to give Yunshishir a pure and beautiful look and create the image of the nation's campus belle. Coincidentally, with the release of The Green Apple, the production team could also bask in the popularity of the movie. After Yunshishir was done with her makeup, she changed into a pure dress and got ready to record the show. She bumped into Wuxia Xianxia in the corridor. In this episode, Wuxia Xianxia wore a snow-white shirt and looked like the nation's most handsome boy. Yunshishir couldn't help but smile when she thought of the character in the script, a warm and caring guy. His attire fit his character very well. Wuxia Xianxia was slightly stunned when he saw her, but he quickly regained his composure. Have you memorized the script? He asked in a low voice, his gaze gentle. Yunshishir nodded and then said with a depressed look, I thought that reality shows are all about me acting as myself. I didn't expect that I have to follow the script. Every line is pre-written. If possible, you can also improvise, Wuxia Xianxia said. Chapter 1425. I rarely take part in reality shows. Even if I do, I don't want to memorize the script. Wuxia Xianxia paused and added, It's very boring. Then, you don't want to follow the script? Wuxia Xianxia laughed and said, I just need to take a look at it. Just one look and I can roughly guess the direction of the script. As for the rest, I just have to improvise on the spot. Yunshishir was taken aback. She sighed inwardly. He was indeed a natural-born best actor. Just one look at the script and he could improvise on the spot according to his character. Get ready for the filming, Wuxia Xianxia said. He then went into the dressing room to do his hair. Yunshishir walked to the filming location. At this moment, the set was being set up. The first segment, First Love's Heartbeat. The filming location was a tastefully decorated cafe. In this segment, according to the script, she and Wuxia Xianxia would meet for the first time. They would get to know each other and interact with each other. For example, they would cook desserts, cakes, and coffee together to create a loving afternoon tea. This was a very romantic segment. Yunshishir felt a little indignant when she saw this scene. When would Yaja be able to create romantic surprises for her? Apart from that one time at Huxin Island, when he created a romantic date for her, there seemed to be nothing else. He was really a man who did not understand romance. Men. Xianxia sighed inwardly. In fact, she really hoped that she could take part in this segment with Wuxia. And not with Gu Xingzi. She did not have any feelings for Gu Xingzi at all. It was really difficult for her to take part in such a reality show with him and act as if they were in love. Did Wuxia know that she was taking part in this reality show with Gu Xingzi? If the program was broadcasted and he saw it, this man would definitely be extremely jealous. Xianxia snorted coldly in her heart. She really wanted the program to be broadcast as soon as possible so that he could see what a textbook example of a warm and caring man was like. Be jealous, be jealous. She could not wait for him to be jealous. What an emotionless ice block. Unknowingly, half an hour had passed. After the set was completed, the director announced the official start of the filming. The Love Diary, Scene 1, First Love, Heartbeat, Action. According to the script, the two of them would meet at a cafe for the first time. According to the script of the show, both of them had prepared small gifts for each other. Gu Xingzi had prepared a limited edition crystal necklace for her and he personally put it around her neck. Xianxia, on the other hand, followed the script and prepared a box of failed cakes. The reason why it was called a failure was because the cake was not made well and was a little burnt. This small prop was prepared by the production team. According to the script, Xianxia wanted to prepare a handmade cake for him for their first meeting. Unfortunately, it was her first time making it, so she had no experience. Not only did she burn her hand, but the cake also failed to cook. She shyly took the cake and said to Gu Xingzi with a look of regret, "Because it's my first time making a cake, so, it seems like it failed." The camera fell on her hand. She even had a band-aid on her finger. Gu Xingzi opened the gift box. What appeared on camera was a cake that could not have been any worse. Chapter 14:26. The cameraman zoomed in on Xianxia's guilty and shy face again and gave a close-up. Gu Xingzi, on the other hand, reached out and gently dipped his fair, jade-like fingertips into the cake. He put it in his mouth and tasted it. His lips curled into a gentle smile as his starry eyes fell on her bashful face. "Thank you. The cake is delicious. I like it very much." As soon as he said that, Xianxia was surprised and in disbelief. "It's obvious that I failed," she mumbled in a daze. Gu Xingzi, however, did not take it to heart. He picked up a small piece of cake and took a bite. His face was full of contentment and tenderness. "It's very sweet." Xianxia immediately said embarrassedly, "Are you comforting me?" "No. It must be very bad. Some parts of it are burnt. If you think it's bad, don't force yourself. I'll feel guilty." Gu Xingzi looked up and looked at her affectionately. "As long as it's made by you, I like it very much." Xianxia was stunned. Gu Xingzi said seriously, "I'll finish it all." The recording process progressed step by step. After a short conversation, the two of them went backstage and started to make the desserts and coffee. The process was, of course, to create an ambiguous and romantic scene. In one scene, Xianxia was standing at the kitchen counter and stirring the egg yolk seriously. Gu Xingzi suddenly hugged her from behind and held her hand as they stirred. This scene was very romantic. If post-production was added, it would be as beautiful as an exquisite music video. Gu Xingzi half-hugged Xianxia and held her hand seriously as they stirred the egg yolks together. Xianxia, on the other hand, lowered her face shyly. Her cheeks were pink and she was blushing. She was obviously shy. After making the desserts, it was time to enjoy them. The desserts made by Xianxia and Gu Xingzi were naturally inedible. For the sake of the show's effect, the desserts were made to taste terrible. The production crew served the desserts that they had prepared beforehand and presented them to the two of them before they continued filming. In this scene, the two of them were feeding each other. Gu Xingzi scooped up a spoonful of dessert and brought it to Xianxia's mouth. Xianxia cursed silently as she acted. She didn't know how many threatening letters she would receive after the post-production of the reality show was completed. Gu Xingzi's fans must send her razor blades. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but feel her hair stand on end. During the recording process, Gu Xingzi was in his best state. Every look and expression in his eyes were perfect, portraying the image of a warm and caring man. On the other hand, Yun Shishir played the role of a pure and innocent school belle very well. The two of them were like lovers who had fallen in love at first sight and had just confirmed their relationship. Every moment that they spent together, it was as if pink bubbles were emitting from them. It was very much like first love. However, Gu Xingzi's acting was so realistic and on point that even Yun Shishir, who was sitting in front of him, couldn't tell if it was real or not. Was he acting or was he revealing his true feelings? Especially when he looked at her affectionately, the hidden tenderness in the depths of his deep eyes seemed to be on the verge of bursting out. Chapter 14:27. Yun Shishir could not help but be startled. For a moment, her heart was beating like thunder because of his affectionate gaze. Gu Xingzi suddenly looked up and asked with a gentle smile. "Do you like music?" Yun Shishir nodded. "I like it very much." "Then let me sing a song for you, okay?" Gu Xingzi asked. Yun Shishir's face was filled with surprise. "Eh? Can I? I specially prepared a song for you. It's a song by Lin Tianwang. I want to sing it for you." Yun Shishir clapped her hands and said with a pink face, "All right." The setting was a coffee shop. In the coffee shop, there was a very romantic music stage. On the stage was a tripod piano. Gu Xingzi slowly sat down in front of the piano. For some reason, when he sat in front of the tripod piano, his gentle and elegant side profile instantly sparkled like stars, and his elegant temperament was about to come out. No wonder it was said that Gu Xingzi was born to be the movie king, and he was also the prince of love songs who was endowed with a soul by the heavens. He lowered his head slightly, and his gentle and delicate side profile fell into her eyes, causing ripples of tenderness to appear. He raised his hand, and his fair hands landed on the black and white piano keys. They were slender and beautiful. Every finger of his beautiful hand seemed to be carved out of jade. He was born to be an outstanding pianist. He turned his face slightly and looked deeply at Yun Shishir. With just this glance, Yun Shishir was completely stunned. Her heart felt as if it had been stabbed by something, because she could clearly see the tenderness in his eyes. This tenderness was not an act. It was so real. Her heart suddenly began to ache. Gu Xingzi slowly played. Along with the tinkling sound of the piano, a gentle and extremely magnetic voice flowed out like flowing water. "Love yourself well, and someone will love you." This is an optimistic statement. The look of happiness makes me feel so, really can't find an adjective. The silence is hiding the overflowing passion, only the particle is left. There is a kind of steadiness when you call my name. He played and sang affectionately. Every word seemed to be engraved into his soul. When people heard it, their scalps immediately went numb and goosebumps appeared all over their bodies. His voice was so gentle and pleasant. When he sang to the emotional part, he gently lowered his eyes, frowned slightly, and his thin lips slowly opened and closed. Coupled with the sad and affectionate sound of the piano, it actually made people have the urge to cry. The position of the fallen leaves compose a poem. Time is passing, our story. This is the first time. Let me see that love can be generous and selfish. You are my keyword. I am not sure love is the best way. Is a verb or noun. I want to tell you the most asterisk, but I forget the words. Gathering and parting always, sometimes for crying and laughing, sometimes. I am not afraid of the subtext. Gu Xingzi's mellow voice, tinged with a hint of laziness, was transmitted through the condenser microphone. There was no need for post-processing, it was already very textured. Someone once commented that Gu Xingzi's voice had a magical power. Just hearing it once was enough to mesmerize and make one's heart go numb. This song was an extremely sad love song. It was the song that Lin Tianwang performed at the Golden Melody Awards. It was sung by Gu Xingzi, but it had a unique style. The audience quieted down. Even the director team was deeply immersed in this song. It was so good. This was also why Gu Xingze was the well-deserved king of singers at the Golden Melody Awards, and no one dared to object. His voice was too perfect. Chapter 14:28. This song was not part of the script at all. It was Gu Xingze's arrangement. Even the director did not expect him to prepare a song for Yunshishi. However, the recording would definitely turn out well. Yunshishi listened quietly and could not help but fall into a trance. Looking at the superstar's gentle side profile, a thought flashed through her mind. Fragmented scenes flashed past her eyes like a merry-go-round. She suddenly recalled Gu Xingze standing in front of her and holding her shoulders uncontrollably. He carefully probed, "Can't I? Must it be him? Can't I? What Wuxia can do, I can do too. I can also give you everything he can give you. What he can't give you, what he can't promise you, I can also give you. So, can't I?" In his eyes, she was so fragile as if she was a bubble that would burst at the slightest touch. "Yunshishi, I really like you. You don't have to deliberately avoid me. If you like me, you like me. If you don't like me, you don't like me. I just don't like to suppress myself. I like you. If you change your mind, I'll wait for you at the same place. However, I won't force you to like me, nor will I do those things that make things difficult for you. So, you don't have to hide from me like this, understand? At least, please retain my right to like you. Please let me protect you silently." Yunshishi snapped back to reality from her memories. Unknowingly, she was deeply moved by Gu Xingze's singing. She could actually feel the love that he had buried deep in his heart from his singing. Her heart suddenly ached and she felt suffocated. She could feel Gu Xingze's determination to protect her silently. She recalled that he seemed to be intentionally or unintentionally cold and indifferent to her. Even when he smiled, it was the kind of gentleness a senior would show to a junior. However, when he sang, the sadness in his voice could not be hidden at all. She knew very well that he had not really let go of her. He was just hiding this deep in his heart. He did not say anything because he did not want his feelings to burden her. Mu Shi, who was standing at the side, was also shocked. His singing was so affectionate. All his emotions were gathered in the lyrics, especially his eyes, which were filled with endless affection. Mu Shi guessed that there must be someone he loved very much in his heart. "What do you mean by hiding in the lyrics?" Is a proper noun. Compose a poem by the position of the fallen leaves. Our story is just beginning. This is the first time. To love someone so generously and selfishly, you are my keyword. When the song ended, Gu Xingze stood up and turned to look at Yunshishi. Her eyes were wide open and filled with tears. In the blink of an eye, tears rolled down her cheeks. She came back to her senses from the song and realized that she was actually crying emotionally as she listened to it. Gu Xingze walked in front of her, picked up a handkerchief, and gently wiped away her tears. Yunshishi smiled and looked up at him. She clapped for him. "Thank you. You sang so well. I cried listening to it." Gu Xingze smiled helplessly and reached out to stroke her head. "Little fool." His eyes were filled with doting love. Mu Shi, who was at the side, almost screamed out loud when she saw this. "Ah. Xingze's boyfriend power is off the charts. He's too gentle." Chapter 14:29. The production team was also silent for a moment. They were all stunned by Gu Xingze's sudden song. They did not expect that Gu Xingze would play and sing a song for Yunshishi. However, if the show's effects were to be produced, it would definitely be good. It was a very amusing scene, and the viewership ratings would definitely be first. Throughout the entire recording process, Mu Shi was watching it live. When she witnessed Yunshishi and Gu Xingze's first date, she felt as if she had been fed a mouthful of dog food. She felt stifled. She felt as if she had been showered with affection. This reality show was simply torturing single people. This was especially true for a single person like her. Watching the whole process, she was hurt 10,000 points. The scene of Gu Xingze wiping Yunshishi's tears, in particular, was a blow to her heart. Her heart felt as if it had been stabbed hard. She felt pain and jealousy. To be in a relationship with the nation's Prince Charming was the dream of many young girls. Oh, God. Xianxia is so handsome. Xianxia is so gentle. His side profile when he plays the piano is so handsome. Just one look from him is enough to kill me. She held her face and wanted to scream uncontrollably. She was so envious of Yun Shishir. Even if this was just a reality show, to put it bluntly, it was just a show. However, even if she knew that this was fake, she was still infatuated with Gu Xing's tenderness. Especially when he looked at Yun Shishir, his gaze was so gentle that it could drown her. She's heart melted as she watched. She bit the corner of her shirt aggrievedly and suddenly envied Yun Shishir. The recording of the first episode of The Love Diary ended smoothly. After it ended, there were 2 more segments left, and that was Love Whispers. The 2 artistes entered a small dark room respectively to watch the edited scenes of the show. While they were being interviewed, they would also express their experiences and feelings about their first date. Yun Shishir watched the edited scenes and expressed her feelings. Senior Xianxia is really a very gentle person. He has also taken great care of me. I remember the first time I met Senior Xianxia, it was on set. He took care of me no matter how big or small the matter was. He was also very gentlemanly. In my heart, he's a heavenly king, the nation's Prince Charming. Sometimes, working with him can be quite stressful. However, he always told me not to feel pressured. It's a pleasure working with him. Actually, this is my first time filming this show, so I'm quite nervous. But on the first date, it was more of a surprise. Especially when he played and sang that song, I was very surprised and pleasantly surprised. I really didn't expect that he would specially prepare this song for me. I'm surprised and touched at the same time. At the end of the recording, she made a heart sign to the camera. Brother Xianxia, I love you. These lines were all memorized according to the script. The production team had divided the key points, and she memorized this part very carefully. Thus, the recording ended smoothly. Just as she walked out of the recording studio, She pounced on her tearfully and bitterly said, Shishir. I'm really envious of you. Yun Shishir broke out in cold sweat. What's wrong? Chapter 1430. Yun Shishir glanced at her coldly. I'm going home. Shi then said, Wait, you have a mission tonight. What? It turned out that her manager had arranged a last-minute schedule for her. She was to enter the recording studio tonight to complete a difficult task. The post-production of The Green Apple had entered its final stage, and that was the post-production dubbing. Generally speaking, for a teen movie like The Green Apple, the dubbing was usually done by professional dubbing actors due to the artist's accents and lines, as well as the character's plot settings and other considerations. Many artists' lines were not up to standard, and some had different accents, such as Beijing or Jiangnan, which made their lines appear abrupt. Lin Fengtian, however, felt that Yun Shishir and Gu Xingzhe had a good foundation in their lines. Yun Shishir's voice, in particular, was fluent in Mandarin and had a good foundation in her lines. She had no problems with her lines, too. Her voice was gentle, pleasant, and as clear as spring water. More importantly, her voice was very close to the original character's setting. Hence, Lin Fengtian solemnly decided to give up on dubbing actors and let Yun Shishir complete the post-production dubbing with her original voice. The Green Apple was 2 hours long, and Yin Shechuan had more than 300 lines. It was quite a huge project. Lin Fengtian specially found a dubbing teacher and threw Yun Shishir into the recording studio. She would spend the next 3 days on this. According to his estimation, it would take about 3 days to complete all the dubbing. Yun Shishir specially applied for leave from home, stated the reason, and guiltily apologized to Yu Yu and Xiao Yichen. When Yu Yu learned that Yun Shishir had to work and could not return home for 3 days, he felt depressed and heartbroken at the same time. These few days, ever since his mother resumed work, her schedule had been packed. The movie was about to enter its promotional period, so she would probably have to fly all over the country. Apparently, his mother had recently accepted a film contract and would be joining the production team soon. Mu Yazhe was busy wrapping up the acquisition of the Meng Group, so he always came home late. Hence, Yu Yu and Xiao Yichen could only pitifully rely on each other. In the end, the work that was supposed to be completed in 3 days was delayed to a week. It was not because of anything else but because Yun Shishir was not a dubbing actress. When she acted, she had a good foundation in her lines because of her emotions. However, after filming ended for so long, she did not adjust her emotional state during the acting process. In addition, Lin Fengtian's harsh work attitude, and his nitpicking. Poor Yun Shishir, who had just been ravaged by Lin Fengtian, had yet to regain her composure when she was dragged by her manager to board a private plane to Italy for the Milan Fashion Week. On the plane, Yun Shishir still had not figured out the itinerary of their flight to Italy. "I'm taking you to watch a show," Qin Zhou explained. "Watch a show?" Yun Shishir widened her eyes in shock. "Boss Qin, I haven't slept for 3 days." As she spoke, she pitifully pointed at the dark circles under her eyes and said in an aggrieved tone, "Did you see my dark circles? Do you see them? I haven't slept for a day and a night. If this goes on, I suspect that I will die in the line of duty." Chapter 1431. Huh. Yun Shishir was so tired that she slumped on the chair. She felt that her whole life was gloomy. "I'm so tired. I want to hug my pillow and sleep until the sky turns dark. Dreams are always beautiful," Qin Zhou quietly said from the side. Yun Shishir was disheartened. She said miserably, "I want to sleep. There are still 5 hours before landing in Italy. You can use this time to catch up on sleep." Yun Shishir complained, "Boss Qin, you're squeezing your employees dry." "I protest." "Protest overruled." "I appeal." "Overruled." "I'm going to die." Yun Shishir had no choice but to compromise. She pitifully covered her face with her clothes and put the chair down. After a while, she quickly fell asleep. She was really tired. As soon as the plane landed, Yun Shishir, who had yet to adjust to the jet lag, was hurriedly dragged to the studio by her manager. The moment she stepped in, she was surrounded by 3 top-notch stylists who were eyeing her covetously. Yun Shishir was speechless. Could she say that the way these men looked at her was scary? Yun Shishir raised her hands and surrendered. Then, she allowed the 3 stylists to surround her. One moment, they were messing with her hairstyle, the next moment, they were messing with her makeup, and the next moment, they were messing with her clothes. Qin Zhou stood at the side and gave advice from time to time. There were a few times when Yun Shishir's hairstyle was not up to standard. With one sentence from Qin Zhou, they were all dismantled and redone. Yun Shishir was so sleepy that she kept yawning. When she was putting on makeup, she dozed off a few times. When her head fell down, her eyeliner messed up her entire face. Qin Zhou could not stand it anymore. He waved his hand and said, "That's all for now. Go back and rest first." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Yun Shishir raised her hands and cheered. When she stood up, her stomach suddenly growled. She had not eaten anything for a day and was obviously hungry. Yun Shishir held her stomach pitifully and looked at Qin Zhou. She bit her lip and complained, "I'm hungry. Bear with it." Qin Zhou snorted and said heartlessly, "It's already night time. You can't eat." "But I'm really hungry." She was trying her best to catch up on sleep on the plane, but she didn't have a good rest. Qin Zhou lectured her, "There's a show tomorrow afternoon. If you put on more weight, it won't do." Yun Shishir, there will be a lot of big names from Hollywood attending the Milan fashion show tomorrow. Do you want to make a fool of yourself on the red carpet? I don't care, you have to be beautiful when you appear on the runway tomorrow. Your face must be as sharp as you want it to be, and your waist must be as thin as you want it to be. Do you understand? Yun Shishir almost rolled her eyes. Go back and rest. Wash up and wait for me at 5:00 tomorrow morning. Yun Shishir seemed to have lost all her strength. It was already 10:00 at night. Oh God, as soon as she entered the hotel, she threw herself on the bed and made use of the time to catch up on sleep. When Qin Zhou appeared at the door of Yun Shishir's room at 5:00 in the morning the next day, he opened the door and saw Yun Shishir's resentful face. He looked at her eyes. They were bloodshot and there were faint dark circles under her eyes. She sounded as if she was about to cry. I didn't sleep well last night. Qin Zhou raised his eyebrows. Yun Shishir said, I can't get used to the bed. Qin Zhou held his forehead helplessly. I give up. Your schedule will only get more and more packed in the future. You have to get used to it as soon as possible. Yun Shishir's voice became weaker. I know. Chapter 1432. The hair styling process was long and boring. Hence, Yun Shishir played with her phone while she permed her hair. However, when she opened Weibo, she suddenly realized that there were tens of thousands of new fans and countless comments. She was stunned. What was going on? Qin Zhou saw the suspicion on her face and kindly reminded her, the show was broadcast yesterday. It turned out that the first episode of The Love Diary was broadcast on Xinguang TV on the day she boarded the plane. The publicity for the show was overwhelming and it caused a sensation. Many die-hard fans of Gu Xingxia were attracted to the show. On Weibo, the number of topics and discussions about the lucky couple rose to the top. Many fans of the original novel of The Green Apple even came to support them. Under the anticipation of the audience, the show was broadcast and it won the #1 spot among the primetime variety shows. There was no doubt about Gu Xingxia's influence and appeal. No matter how one looked at it, there was no doubt about Gu Xingxia's popularity. Once the show was broadcast, there was a heated discussion about the show online. For a reality show like The Love Diary, post-production was very important. Coupled with the character designs in the script, Yun Shishir and Gu Xingxia's characters were very likable. One was a pure campus belle while the other was a warm and caring guy. Coupled with the gimmick of first date, many people fell in love with Gu Xingxia's performance. It was Gu Xingxia's first time participating in such a romantic reality show. As a fan of Gu Xingxia, it was a huge attraction. Through the show, many viewers saw how romantic and affectionate their idol was when he was a boyfriend. They were even more fanatical. Unsurprisingly, half of the comments on Yun Shishir's Weibo were from Gu Xingxia's die-hard fans. All kinds of unpleasant words were endless. There were even many marketing accounts that publicly humiliated Yun Shishir and accused her of using Gu Xingxia's popularity to hurt Gu Xingxia's fans. Yun Shishir did not read much of it. Qin Zhou specifically reminded her not to read the comments online for the time being to avoid getting hurt. She listened obediently and did not look at Weibo. However, Qin Zhou had his own reasons for giving such an order. It was not because of anything else, but because the fans who insulted Yun Shishir were all paid by Qin Zhou. This was also one of his methods. After the show was broadcasted, he immediately hired tens of thousands of ghostwriters to surround Yun Shishir's Weibo and attack her without thinking. They also clamored for #Yun Shishir to get out of the entertainment industry #. This was taking advantage of the public's sympathy for the weak mentality. If he did not do that, firstly, Yun Shishir's Weibo would definitely be attacked by Gu Xingxia's fans after the show was aired. Secondly, it would be difficult for his team to control the situation. Therefore, he took the lead and sent out the internet water army to attack Yun Shishir with all kinds of vicious words. All kinds of attacks were unsightly and extremely vicious. As a result, many passers-by could not bear to continue watching. Thus, some kind-hearted netizens began to emerge. Are some of Gu Xingxia's die-hard fans crazy? What right do they have to clamor for Yun Shishir to get out of the entertainment industry? What right do you have? Yun Shishir is so pitiful. Just because the program team arranged for her to participate in the reality show with Gu Xingxia, she was attacked like this. How pitiful. Chapter 1433. She's just an imaginary couple with Gu Xingxia. Does she have to suffer so many rumors for no reason? Shishir, you can do it. Don't bother about those unreasonable fans. I'm your fan and I really like The Green Apple. When the movie is released, I'll definitely support it. In an instant, the hashtag #Shishir, you can do it hashtag became the top trending topic on Weibo. Many Yun Shishir's fans also started to fight back. Yun Shishir's fans deliberately took screenshots of Yun Shishir's beautiful moments from the show. Her good looks attracted many passers-by. Oh my god. Who is this woman? She's so beautiful. She reminds me of my first love. She has the temperament of a campus belle. I think she and Gu Xingze are quite compatible. I don't remember her name, but I know her. She's the newbie who acted in The Green Apple with Gu Xingze. She's so beautiful. Her nose is so beautiful and her eyes are so beautiful. It's as if there are many stars hidden in them. She's so beautiful. She's like an otherworldly fairy. Could it be that she's had plastic surgery? Many popular actresses nowadays are not original. Could it be that she's also had plastic surgery? The funny thing was, when some people questioned Yun Shishir's plastic surgery, many netizens who used to be plastic surgeons came forward to analyze it. I've carefully studied Yun Shishir's facial features. They're perfect. She has the perfect proportions of an Asian beauty. Her temperament is also very ethereal. The corners of her eyes are natural and the curve of her nose is also very natural. She doesn't look like she's had plastic surgery. I'm a plastic surgeon. I've studied her facial features. They're all natural. She hasn't gone under the knife. Facial features that have gone under the knife are very obvious. Many netizens started to look forward to the second episode of the show. I'm really looking forward to the second episode. But The Love Diary only has 2 episodes a month. We have to wait for another half a month for the second episode. I'm so envious of Shishir. Although I know that The Love Diary is just a reality show, I still think that she and Xingze are really compatible when they stand together. Mu Group. After Mu Yaja finished dealing with his work, he suddenly received an email. Inside the email was a link to a video website. The sender was Minyu. Boss, Madam is recording a new episode. Mu Yaja clicked on it. It was a program titled The Love Diary. Love Diary? Looking at the introduction of the show, it seemed to be a reality show about imaginary love. He frowned slightly. Ji Lin would report Yun Shishir's schedule to him every week. Among them, he mentioned that Yun Shishir had recently accepted a reality show. He only knew that it was a reality show, but he didn't know that it was a hypothetical love show. Mu Yaja scanned through the list and saw Gu Xingze's name on it. His good-looking eyebrows furrowed even deeper at this sight. Gu Xingze. Why was it him? Out of curiosity, he picked up the mouse and clicked play. The video was 50 minutes long, but he was actually very patient. He finished watching it without fast-forwarding for even a minute. However, the more he watched, the gloomier his expression became. He felt inexplicably unhappy. Especially when he saw Yun Shishir crying after Gu Xingze played a song in the cafe. His frown deepened. Why was she crying? Why was she crying? Was this a script? Chapter 1434. Mu Yaja furrowed his brows deeply, and his eyes were filled with anger. The reality show's post-production team had been specially hired to handle the entire production, so the show's effect was romantic and interesting. The scene of the two people's first date was especially romantic. Gu Xingze prepared a beautiful necklace for Yun Shishir, and even put it on her personally. The scene where he put it on her was filmed in slow motion, and it matched with the love song Gu Xingze had specially written for the movie, The Green Apple. The entire scene seemed to be filled with pink bubbles, and it made people's hearts beat faster. Yun Shishir prepared a cake for Gu Xingze that had failed to bake, and there was a scene where she personally fed Gu Xingze. Mu Yaja watched the show expressionlessly from start to finish, and his face darkened. It was just a reality show. Reality shows were like movies, they had a script. Even though Mu Yaja knew that the so-called reality show was just a fake show, he was still upset and was about to turn it off. At the end of the show, Gu Xingze suddenly confessed his true feelings. On the screen was a quiet recording studio. He sat on the sofa, facing the camera, and talked about his feelings for the date. Where did you first meet her? Gu Xingze pondered for a moment, and his eyes suddenly curved. The first time I met her was at Huanyu's annual cocktail party. She was wearing a gorgeous gown, and her makeup wasn't very thick, but she was very beautiful. Her beauty was probably something that could not be described with superficial words. She had a very special aura that attracted me immediately. He spoke very slowly, and his eyes were looking at the camera with a slight smile. When he mentioned Yunshishi, the affection in his eyes could be clearly felt even through the screen. This man loved her deeply from the bottom of his heart. At the cocktail party, I invited her to dance with me. She had never learned ballroom dancing before, and she felt very clumsy. There were a few times when she stepped on my leather shoes. She was clumsy, but it felt. His voice suddenly stopped, and his eyes were filled with emotions, as if he was immersed in the memory of that day at the cocktail party. She felt very cute. The scene suddenly changed, and there was a scene from the date. It replayed the scene when Yunshishi took out the cake that she had baked for him. She looked defeated and cautious, and together with Gu Xingze's voiceover, it was touching. I like clumsy girls, and maybe I'm a male chauvinist in some ways. I like to pamper my girlfriend, and let her make trouble in my arms. I like that feeling, it makes me feel very safe. Is she clumsy? Actually, she's not stupid, but she's very kind, gentle, and treats people with sincerity. I like these qualities of hers. They're very attractive to me. In the next scene, the production team took out another question board. Do you believe in love at first sight? Gu Xingze was taken aback when he was asked this question. His gaze and thoughts drifted away. Is this question difficult to answer? Gu Xingze stopped thinking and suddenly shook his head. Then your answer is love at first sight. He narrowed his eyes and suddenly looked at the camera with a serious expression. Before I met her, I probably didn't. Chapter 1435. On his handsome face, the sullen expression was already overflowing with words. On the screen, a line of pink words appeared. Is TA your ideal type? When Gu Xingze received the question board, he was a little stunned. He suddenly asked, ideal type? Yes. Generally speaking, you should have fantasies about your ideal lover. Gu Xingze pursed his lips and answered directly, I don't have an ideal type. Ah. The production crew was a little surprised and laughed. How can you not have an ideal type? Generally, men would have certain fantasies about their future lovers when they met and fell in love with each other. For example, long hair, figure, appearance, temperament. Gu Xingze also laughed. His thin lips curled up slightly, revealing a slight smile. After a moment of silence, his expression suddenly sank slightly. He said slowly, because of some reasons, I thought that I would probably never fall in love with anyone in my life. Gu Xingze revealed his true feelings for the first time and brought up his background. When I was young, my parents broke up. I was exiled abroad and grew up alone, so I didn't experience the feeling of family. I don't know what love is like. I only know that my mother's relationship was a failure. She was abandoned, and then. He did not continue, but there was a faint melancholy in his eyes. This was the first time Gu Xingze had shown this side of him in front of the camera. In the past, he had always been aloof and extraordinary, giving people the impression that he was a very sunny idol. However, in front of the camera, for the first time in his life, he looked a little depressed in front of the camera. Actually, I don't believe in love at all. I feel that love is a kind of illusory thing that can't be touched or seen. At the same time, it only imperceptibly gives people a heavy burden and makes it difficult for them to move forward. After being in the entertainment industry for so many years, there hasn't been a woman who has made me feel like starting a family. The production crew said with heartache, this is the first time Xingze has mentioned this in front of the camera. Because I didn't have a family when I was young, my concept of family is very weak. Gu Xingze smiled. She gives me a feeling. How do you feel? He described it seriously, it's like a fated encounter, a fated lover. Fated lovers? A line of words appeared on the screen. He continued, if we have to talk about the ideal type, then it would be Xianxia, right? Oh. Is Xianxia your ideal type? Gu Xingzi smiled deeply. I like her no matter who she is. You like her beauty? Gu Xingzi shook his head. To be honest, I've seen many women more beautiful than her. The production team asked, then what do you like about her? Gu Xingzi thought hard for a while, then suddenly said, it's an indescribable feeling. The production team, indescribable? That's right. Nothing can be explained clearly. The production team was a little surprised. What do you mean? Gu Xingzi said affectionately, once you like someone, no matter what she looks like, no matter if she dresses up nicely or doesn't care about trifles, no matter if she's tall or short, fat or thin, rich or poor, you will like her. No one can replace her. Do you like the gift from TA? That cake? Gu Xingzi raised his eyebrows and suddenly smiled. There was a slight disdain in his eyes. Chapter 1436. But you looked so happy when you were eating the cake. You looked like you liked it a lot. Gu Xingzi said seriously, yes, I liked it a lot. The production crew. Because she was the one who made it. Gu Xingzi explained, even if I got food poisoning from eating it, I would still eat it. It was her kind intentions. I liked it a lot. As he said that, his face turned slightly red. In the slow-motion camera, Gu Xingzi's smile was gentle and affectionate. What do you want to say to your idol? Gu Xingzi suddenly pursed his lips shyly and avoided the camera. The shyness on his face was rare and had never been seen in front of the camera. In the past, Gu Xingzi was always cold and indifferent in front of the camera. Even in front of his fans, he had never shown such an adorable smile. Like a shy boy, he smiled with his eyes squinted and was extremely gentle. Don't be shy. Gu Xingzi said, since it's from the bottom of my heart, I should say it to her secretly. I can't say it to you guys. The crew started to coax him, you can say it here. She can see it too. Really? Yes. Gu Xingzi turned and looked at the camera as if he was looking at her. Suddenly, he said solemnly, please be my girlfriend. Then, there was a long silence. The crew was stunned. That's it? Gu Xingzi's face turned even redder. The crew tried to persuade him again. Do you have anything you want to confess to her? Gu Xingzi mustered up his courage again and looked at the camera. His eyes were deep, but his smile faded and he looked a little solemn. Sure, I like you. I really like you. I don't know if you will like me like this. But I will try my best to give you happiness. Please date me. If possible, we can start a family together and then, bear a child for me. I will be a responsible husband and father. Gu Xingzi paused for a moment and said seriously, I really like you. After saying that, he smiled gently in slow motion. The scene was so beautiful that one could not help but be moved to tears. Pa Muyaja slammed his notebook shut, his face extremely gloomy. He made a call and instructed Minyu to report Yun Xiaoxia's recent schedule to him. Not long after, Minyu sent Yun Xiaoxia's schedule for this month to her. 1 month, 30 days. Every day's schedule was packed to the brim. At first glance, there was almost no time to breathe. According to her itinerary, she was currently in Italy, rushing to Milan Fashion Week. Milan Fashion Week was one of the 4 most famous fashion weeks in the world. Milan, Paris, New York, and London. Among the 4 major fashion weeks, Milan Fashion Week was the latest to rise. But now, it was already at the top. It gathered the top figures in the fashion industry, thousands of professional buyers, and professional media and style trends from all over the world. The global spread of these elements was far beyond other business models. As one of the top 4 fashion weeks in the world, Milan Fashion Week in Italy was considered the barometer of fashion design and consumption in the world. Chapter 1437. As everyone knew, many female celebrities were working hard to become an international superstar. Compared to the red carpet at the Aslan, Berlin, Venice, and Cannes Film Festival, the fashion show was more approachable and had a lower threshold. The International Fashion Week, which happened twice a year, was not only a major event in the global luxury industry, but also an important opportunity for many female celebrities to grab the headlines. Every mid-autumn festival season, many female celebrities would rush to the fashion shows without prior agreement. Watching a fashion show was a very high-class thing. Although the threshold was low, it wasn't easy to get an invitation letter. It should be noted that when a luxury brand held a fashion show during Fashion Week, the range of invitations they could send out was strictly limited. In fact, 40% of the invitations were for the world's top fashion media. 30% was for famous fashion buyers. 10% was for celebrities and guests. 10% was for top VIP customers. The last 10% was reserved for random allocation. As a VIP, Wuxia also received an invitation to the Milan show, but he threw it aside. He wasn't interested in fashion shows, so he didn't plan to go. Celebrities who received a direct invitation from a brand were of course the highest status. The right to watch the show in the VIP section was a top-notch standard. Ordinary female celebrities couldn't get this position. In addition, people in this position not only had the priority to choose clothes to wear in the show, but they could also be personally received by the brand's designer to pave the way for future cooperation. Celebrities who didn't have a direct connection with the brand could choose to connect with 40% of the media. As the domestic media increased their coverage of the Fashion Week, watching a show with a celebrity became the focus of various reports. Some media even hired celebrities as special fashion observers, which became a win-win cooperation model. On one hand, the media used the gimmick of famous celebrities to enrich their coverage. On the other hand, celebrities could also use the media to increase their exposure. Some celebrities who didn't have any works, but had good looks and temperament, became the media's partners. Of course, some low-ranking female celebrities didn't even have such conditions. They didn't even have the qualifications to attend the fashion show. But in order to gain space and ride the popularity of the fashion show, they would fight at their own expense. They would take the initiative to pay the media's travel expenses, bribe the brand's public relations with high prices, and get in through the back door. Even if they didn't have a seat, standing was enough to write a few rounds of publicity. What outshines the crowd? What heaven-shattering beauty? What stunning appearance at the end of the show? What was the truth? Many female celebrities who failed to get an invitation to the fashion show shamelessly went to the red carpet, but they were still rejected by the ruthless fashion show. Even so, they still had to pretend to be elegant and stand outside the entrance of the fashion show to take a few glamorous photos. Later, they would use the publicity to hype themselves up, which was also a good way to get publicity. Xianxia's participation in the fashion show this time was all because her manager had helped her secure a collaboration with a major brand not long ago. Chapter 1438. Wuxia rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Suddenly, his gaze fell on the invitation letter that he had thrown aside. After receiving the invitation letter for the Milan fashion show, he threw it aside. He picked it up again and looked at it carefully. Then, he dialed Min Yu's private number. Book me a direct flight to Milan. Huh? Boss, there's a final meeting tomorrow. Reschedule it. Wuxia said calmly, book the ticket now. Okay. Min Yu didn't dare to disobey his orders. He immediately rushed to book the ticket. Milan. In the stylist's studio, Xianxia's styling was done. A few stylists surrounded her and took turns to examine her. Then, they pushed her in front of Qin Zhou. Qin Zhou crossed his arms and looked her up and down a few times. His gaze fell on her face and he stared at her carefully for a long time. Xianxia raised her eyebrows. Is there a problem? Lip color. Qin Zhou tapped his lips and commented, it's too light. Do you need to touch up your lip color? Of course. If the lip color is too light, it won't look good on camera. It'll make you look haggard. Qin Zhou was obviously experienced. He had attended more fashion shows than many female celebrities. Therefore, he had a high aesthetic standard when it came to makeup. One of the stylists said, "Her skin is very fair. Indeed, dark lipstick is more suitable." Qin Zhou instructed the stylists, "Use Dior Blue Gold number 999 for her." Okay. Yun Shishir touched up her lip color. The Dior Blue Gold number 999 color was especially bright. Together with her fair skin, the makeup gave off a noble and gorgeous feeling. Qin Zhou was satisfied. Very good. What about now? Qin Zhou snapped his fingers and said, "Follow me to the venue to pick out the dress." After that, Qin Zhou immediately brought Yun Shishir to the star-making factory to make the final preparations for the show. The dresses for the female celebrities were all prepared by the brand. This time, Louis Vuitton had prepared 20 sets of gowns. Generally speaking, these gowns would be given to A-list celebrities and VIPs to choose from before being given to B-list and B-list celebrities to choose from. Therefore, when it was time for the celebrities to choose, they had no choice. In addition, most of the new clothes from these brands were samples that had not yet been put on the shelves. Most of the designs were custom-made according to the figures of Westerners. In order to make the dress fit better, the tailors had to do some post-processing, which would inevitably destroy the original cut and layering of the dress. If the celebrity's temperament couldn't be controlled, a big brand's ready-made clothes would be reduced to a David. The size of the gown was on the slim side according to model standards. Therefore, Qin Zhou didn't allow Yun Shishir to eat too much these days. He couldn't gain weight. She really couldn't put on more weight. Even if she gained 0.01 kilograms, it wouldn't do. The sizes of the gowns from the brand were on the small side. If she picked a beautiful gown but had to give it up in the end because her figure didn't match the gown, she would be in an awkward situation. As for the so-called joint name, the brand had its own standards. Even if it was difficult to pull a button, the gown would have to be given up. After all, the gowns prepared by the brand were all worth tens of millions. They were magnificent treasures, and some of them were limited edition. Therefore, the requirements for a celebrity's figure were very strict. Chapter 1439. Qin Zhou had put in a lot of effort so that Yun Shishir could appear beautiful on camera. Many big names were present on the day of the fashion show. Female celebrities came one after another to attend this grand fashion event. Han Yuyan, Yang Mi, Lin Ji, of course, there were also some female celebrities with lower status who were on their way. When they arrived at Louis Vuitton's studio, they were surprised to see Lin Ji there. Lin Ji was stunned to see Qin Zhou and Yun Shishir. She did not expect Yun Shishir to receive an invitation from Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton had only sent out 20 invitations. Among them, only 6 were sent to the domestic celebrity circle. 3 of them were sent to 3 of the more famous female celebrities in the fashion industry. To put it bluntly, they were red carpet professionals. Qin Zhou called them carpet stars. Other than Yun Shishir, the other was Lin Ji. Lin Ji had shot a series of print ads for Louis Vuitton's spring collection. This was the first print ad that Lin Ji had received from a major brand. Because of this, Lin Ji's team had been wantonly promoting Lin Ji's high status. After all, as one of the top luxury fashion brands, to be able to get a print ad from Louis Vuitton was extremely dazzling. Qin Zhou was especially disdainful. Useless. She had received a print ad and was bragging so much that she wanted to announce it to the world. Huh, what a disgrace. Lin Ji saw Qin Zhou and smiled slightly. She quickly walked up to him and greeted him gracefully. "Hello, CEO Qin." She took the initiative to greet him enthusiastically, yet she completely ignored Yun Shishir, who was standing at the side. It was as if the latter did not exist in her eyes. She was deliberately giving her the cold shoulder. Or perhaps, in Lin Ji's eyes, Yun Shishir was just a newcomer. She could not be compared to her at all. If they were to greet each other, Yun Shishir should be greeting her first. If she were to greet her first, it would be beneath her status. However, Qin Zhou was different. He was one of the top managers in the industry. His methods were top-notch. Moreover, he was a shareholder of Huanyu. If she could get to know him, she could ask him to pave the way for her in the future. She had her eyes on the gold resources in his hands. Her ambition was obvious. Qin Zhou glanced at her with disdain in his eyes. He frowned and also looked at her with disdain. He looked to the side and whistled. Humph. His face was cold and noble. Since this Lin Ji was so arrogant that she ignored Yun Shishir and treated her like air, then he wouldn't take her seriously either. His sneer and the indifference on his face caused Lin Ji's face to darken and turn livid. This was clearly not giving her face in public. Yun Shishir looked at Lin Ji and then at Qin Zhou. She raised her eyebrows. Lin Ji turned around slightly and smiled at Yun Shishir like a slipper. However, this smile was a fake one. It was just a smile on her lips, but the smile did not reach her eyes. Shishir, it's you? Sigh, look at me. I only noticed you because my eyesight is bad. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Her smile was cold and stiff. There was no friendliness in it at all. Yun Shishir heard this and smiled coldly. Hello, are you, the stylist here? Pfft. Qin Zhou laughed rudely. Chapter 1440. Qin Zhou laughed rudely. Shishir, you're too cute. She's not a stylist, she's Lin Ji. You should have seen her before. Lin Ji's expression turned even uglier. This Yun Shishir, was she deliberately picking a fight? However, Yun Shishir looked as if she had suddenly realized something. Oh. I saw her during the audition for Lethal Beauty. She auditioned for the female lead with me, Lin Ji. After saying that, Yun Shishir mimicked Lin Ji and put on a fake smile. She said as hypocritically as she could, Senior Lin Ji, I'm sorry. Your makeup is too thick. I didn't recognize you for a while. It would have been fine if she hadn't said that, but once she did, Lin Ji's expression was as ugly as it could get. Was this Yun Shishir doing it on purpose? Was she mocking her for having too much makeup? Qin Zhou smiled satisfactorily and looked at Yun Shishir with satisfaction. Not bad. This little lass's ability to make people uncomfortable had improved quite a bit. At this thought, he raised his brows and continued Yun Shishir's words, saying, It can't be helped. Some people don't have the temperament and beauty, so they can only rely on makeup to maintain their looks. Shishir, don't look down on others. Qin Zhou's mouth was so venomous that it made people speechless. It wasn't without reason that he said that. He had seen Lin Ji's bare face once by chance. She was simply a passerby. If it weren't for the fact that her facial features were sculpted and could rely on makeup to maintain her beauty, her facial features weren't purely natural. Who knew how many times they had been processed in the post-production? Being hailed as the #1 costume starlet was just an undeserved reputation. Compared to Yun Shishir, she was really too far behind. Lin Ji was completely speechless. Qin Zhou was famous for his poisonous tongue. In addition, Yun Shishir had learned something, and would occasionally add salt to the wound. She was beaten black and blue. But she found it hard to refute. Lin Ji was not a natural beauty like Yun Shishir. Her nose was padded, her chin was shaved, and her eyelids were cut. Even so, it was difficult for her to compete with Yun Shishir in terms of ancient costumes. This was also the reason why she was eyeing Yun Shishir covetously. She was very ostracizing her. Her sixth sense told her that as long as this Yun Shishir could seize the opportunity, she would definitely become famous overnight and surpass her. However, even though she was mocked mercilessly, she couldn't do anything to Yun Shishir in front of Qin Zhou. She could only glare at her secretly. Qin Zhou suddenly asked curiously, Lin Ji, I heard that the female lead of Lethal Beauty has been decided on you. Is that true? Lin Ji regained some confidence after hearing his question. She raised her chin proudly and said proudly, yes. The female lead has already been decided. Although the production team hasn't released any news, the female lead has already been confirmed to be me. What a pity. Qin Zhou suddenly said. Lin Ji was stunned for a moment and looked at him in confusion. Obviously, she didn't understand what he meant. CEO Qin, what do you mean? Qin Zhou smiled coldly and said slowly, if it weren't for our Shusher wanting to challenge for the role of the second female lead, this female lead might not have been yours. Speaking of which, shouldn't you thank our Shusher? Lin Ji's face froze. She was so angry that she was about to vomit blood. Ah! She was really mad. Chapter 1441. It was said that Qin Zhou was famous for his poisonous tongue. Now that she had experienced it herself, it was true that he lived up to his reputation. This Qin Zhou was simply infuriating her. And this Yun Shusher, she was purely trying to annoy her. Lin Ji was so angry that she gritted her teeth. However, she couldn't do anything to Qin Zhou and Yun Shusher. She could only say in a sarcastic tone, I'm also very flattered to be able to receive Director Gu's recognition. However, since Director Gu chose me as the female lead, he must have his own opinions. After all, Director Gu is a famous gold medal director in the industry. His foresight is unquestionable. She was using Gu Xiaoyang's words to elevate her own status. Lin Ji kept praising Gu Xiaoyang's foresight. Wasn't she just indirectly flaunting that she had won the female lead role in Lethal Beauty based on her own capabilities? Qin Zhou was disdainful. What was there to rely on? If the entertainment industry really relied on capabilities, how could Lin Ji be considered a crooked person? Didn't she rely on her sugar daddy to get to where she was? At the thought of this, Qin Zhou was angry. If not for his Shusher wanting to challenge for the role of the second female lead, the female lead role would not have been Lin Ji's. Qin Zhou had been in the industry for so many years. With so many connections, how could he not be able to get the female lead role? He snorted coldly. He couldn't bear to see Lin Ji humiliating Yun Shusher in front of him. His impression of Lin Ji instantly changed from a passerby to a hater. Hence, he sneered, Lin Ji, then you'd better act well. Our Shusher will be in the same drama as you. She'll be playing the evil female lead in this drama. Don't let Shusher become famous while you don't. That'll be ugly. Lin Ji's expression darkened even further. Qin Zhou's words really stung her. He had said this because there was an allusion to it. Previously, Lin Ji had taken part in a period drama. In that period drama, she played the female lead. However, the female lead's persona was the standard naive and sweet one. It was very unlikable. If this persona had been put in a decade ago, perhaps the audience would have liked it. However, after more than 10 years of acting in the same silly and sweet way, the audience had long been tired of it. They despised the role played by Lin Ji. If it wasn't for her looks, she would have lost a lot of fans because of that drama. However, this was not the end. What she couldn't accept the most was that the second female lead in the drama, whose love turned to hate and was madly infatuated with love, had a vicious character and was extremely unflattering. However, her superb acting skills made her shine in front of everyone's eyes. Her beauty overshadowed the crowd, and she instantly became popular. This fire completely overshadowed Lin Ji's limelight. This film had become the female star's representative work. However, the awkward thing was that when this film was mentioned, the audience's first reaction was probably the second female star, not Lin Ji. Therefore, when Lin Ji heard Qin Zhou's words, she knew that he was mocking her. Why was he so aggressive? Lin Ji was furious. She suddenly turned her eyes and fixed them on Yun Shusher's face. Her eyes narrowed slightly, full of disgust. It was probably because he was protecting Yun Shusher. After all, Qin Zhou was Yun Shusher's immediate manager. Lin Ji had ignored Yun Shusher just now, which had obviously angered him. But, why? Why would the insufferably arrogant Qin Zhou, who was known as the best manager in the industry, worship and protect Yun Shusher in every way possible? Chapter 1442. Besides her beauty, what else did she have? Her acting skills? Lin Ji had never watched any of Yun Shusher's works. At most, she had only watched a few of Yun Shusher's movies. Hence, she did not have any idea of her acting skills. The prideful Lin Ji, on the other hand, naturally did not think much of Yun Shishir. In her eyes, Yun Shishir's acting skills might not be as good as hers. After all, she had debuted a few years earlier than her. In terms of experience and skills, she did not think that she would lose to her. Yun Shishir was just relying on her good resources. But where did she get such good resources from? Wasn't it all from Qin Zhou? Lin Fengtian was able to get a movie, and she was able to work with Gu Xingze when she had just debuted. She even heard that Gu Xingze had specifically invited her to be his female companion at Huanyu's annual cocktail party. She even had access to the resources of The Love Diary. As the second imaginary couple of The Love Diary, this resource was truly a golden resource. Why did she say so? As a brand new variety show, The Love Diary was a new variety show that had just been released. It was created by the best variety show team in Korea. One had to know that reality shows were the best way to build popularity with the audience. It was also a golden resource that many people yearned for. Ordinary people simply could not get it. When The Love Diary was first released, the production team did not know how the show would turn out. Hence, they specially invited two B-list celebrities to be the imaginary couple. After a few episodes, they realized that the show's effect was quite good. After a few episodes of pre-promotion, the production team realized that this reality show had a huge market potential. However, during the period when the show was on the rise, they were eager to stabilize their popularity. Hence, they paid a huge price to invite Gu Xingze. However, as for the female guest, the production team did not initially decide on Yun Shishir. Instead, they decided on another female guest. The reason why Qin Zhou was able to get the resources was because Gu Xingze had contacted the production team. If the female guest was not Yun Shishir, he would have left the production team. How could they accept this? When the production team heard this, they did not hesitate to invite Yun Shishir. One had to know that the success or failure of this program did not depend on the female guest. Most of the viewership ratings depended on the male guest. As a heavenly idol, Gu Xingze alone was enough to support the entire program's value and viewership ratings. That was enough. It didn't matter who the female guest was. Moreover, since Gu Xingze said so, the crew had no choice but to do as he wished. Lin Ji gritted her teeth in anger. The reason why she was so angry was because if Gu Xingze hadn't insisted on naming Yun Shishir, she might have been named as a female guest on this episode of The Love Diary. Why did Gu Xingze pick Yun Shishir? Would Gu Xingze like Yun Shishir? What a joke. After Lin Ji's anger subsided, she thought about it carefully. She soon suspected that there was an unspeakable relationship between Yun Shishir and Qin Zhou. Back then, when Qin Zhou terminated his contract with Gu Xingze and signed Yun Shishir as a newcomer, rumors began to spread in the industry. After finding out that Qin Zhou had terminated his contract with Gu Xingze, many people were in a mess. This Qin Zhou. Had he lost his mind? How could he terminate his contract with Gu Xingze? Oh please. Was there something wrong with his brain? Gu Xingze was a money tree. Chapter 1443. Gu Xingze was the hottest idol in the entertainment industry, the nation's heavenly king. He had been in the industry for 10 years, but he was still doing well. His career was still on the rise and he still had a promising future. In the end, the contract was terminated just like that. At first, people thought that Gu Xingze and Qin Zhou had a disagreement, so he dumped Qin Zhou. However, they later learned that the two had actually broken up peacefully. This made it even harder for people to figure out what was going on. It was a bit of a mystery and they couldn't see clearly. Until now, many people still couldn't figure out why Qin Zhou would give up the reliable heavenly king Gu to sign a newcomer and promote her without hesitation. There was something even crazier. Qin Zhou actually used heavenly king Gu's popularity to promote Yun Shishir. Was he crazy? Could it be Yun Shishir had been seduced by Qin Zhou? Many people suspected so. Qin Zhou had slept with Yun Shishir, so he made a promise to her that he would make her famous. Generally speaking, the status of a manager was similar to that of an artist. However, Qin Zhou was different. As an ace manager with first-tier resources and a shareholder of Huanyu, Qin Zhou was rich and had a wide network. Let's not talk about this for now. The most important thing was, Qin Zhou had the face of an idol. Therefore, many female celebrities were lining up for him to pamper them. However, Qin Zhou and Gu Xingze were the same. They were not interested in women, so many people thought that Qin Zhou was gay. Thinking of this, Lin Ji looked at Yun Shishir with viciousness and disgust. Yun Shishir glanced at her from the corner of her eye and keenly caught the other's sinister gaze. Lin Ji was stunned and looked away. Then, she raised her chin and smiled elegantly but coldly. I've been in the entertainment industry for so many years, so my acting skills have been honed. In the past, I didn't have the ability, but now, I can't be sure. I hope so. Qin Zhou smiled coldly. Yun Shishir couldn't stand Lin Ji's arrogant face. She suddenly smiled innocently, tilted her head, and asked innocently, Senior Lin Ji, are you here to attend the fashion show? He didn't wait for Lin Ji to respond. Qin Zhou immediately said, Shishir, you don't understand. Some people didn't sleep for 2 days and 2 nights just to get on the red carpet. They traveled thousands of miles to get here. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Ji's face turned green. She looked at Qin Zhou angrily. Her eyes were filled with confusion and hurt, but more than that, it was anger and embarrassment. Chairman Qin, you've gone too far. After saying that, Lin Ji raised her head pretentiously. As the spokesperson for the new spring collection of nectar, I received an official invitation. You're saying that I'm just trying to get on the red carpet? That's slander. Wow, the spokesperson for the press conference, haha. It's one thing for you to brag in front of the public, but how dare you brag in front of me? Aren't you afraid that you'll be exposed? Qin Zhou mocked him mercilessly. Lin Ji's expression turned even uglier. Indeed. In terms of publicity, Louis Vuitton was divided into brand partner, brand spokesperson, and brand ambassador. These 3 titles were easily confused, but in reality, they were fundamentally different. Chapter 1444. As the spokesperson, Lin Ji was only endorsing one of Louis Vuitton's nectar series. She was the spokesperson for the entire nectar collection, from the clothes to the bags. The products she was the spokesperson for were only the tip of the iceberg. It looked glamorous, but it was just a product line under the brand. The value of the endorsement was very low. As for brand ambassador, it meant that she was the spokesperson for the entire brand. In other words, Louis Vuitton's only brand ambassador in the Greater China region was Gu Xingze. They had never had a female spokesperson before. Therefore, Lin Ji was already very pleased with herself after being the spokesperson for one product line. Then, what is she here for? Lin Ji asked aggressively. Her gaze fell on Yun Shishir with evil intentions. Did she bring any products? Or was she invited by the brand? That's impossible. After all, the one who came all the way here just to get on the red carpet should be your artist. Ahem. Qin Zhou was amused. Lin Ji was angry, but she tried to restrain herself. Am I wrong? I'm sorry. Our Shishir has received an invitation from the brand. As soon as Qin Zhou finished speaking, Lin Ji said arrogantly, impossible. He raised his eyebrows disapprovingly. What's impossible? How could she have received an invitation? She's just a newcomer. What right does she have to receive an invitation from the brand? Qin Zhou looked past her impatiently. He did not want to waste any more time on her. He turned around and called out to Shishir, Shishir, come with me to choose your gown. With that, he entered the VIP lounge. Yun Shishir nodded. Just as she was about to follow her manager to the VIP area, Lin Ji's figure flashed and blocked her path. You're not allowed to enter. Yun Shishir's brows furrowed slightly as she raised her eyes to look at the arrogant Lin Ji blocking her way. She was a little surprised. What do you mean? Where's the invitation? Lin Ji opened her palm. Without an invitation, you don't have the right to step into this place. You don't even have the right to enter the VIP room. She had disliked her for a long time. Therefore, Lin Ji swore to teach her a lesson. She didn't want a newcomer who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. She was her senior, but she didn't take her seriously. Of course, she had to teach her a lesson. Xianxia was neither angry nor shocked. She walked around her as if she did not hear her. Lin Ji was even angrier, and blocked her way again. Where are you going? Senior Lin Ji, please step aside. Xianxia smiled politely, is. However, there was a faint smile on his face and a mocking look in his eyes. Lin Ji was completely enraged by her gaze. She blurted out, go back. This is not a place for you to be. Who do you think you are? Do you really think you're a big shot? Xianxia ignored the sarcasm in her words, but the smile on her face slowly faded. When she looked up, her eyes were frosty as she stared at her coldly. Suddenly, she let out a mocking laugh. You're the one who thinks you're a big shot, right? Senior Lin Ji. Chapter 1445. Lin Ji laughed coldly and looked her up and down with disdain. She said expressionlessly, some female stars are trying to use fashion resources to climb up the ranks. Xianxia, do you think I don't know what tricks you're playing? There are so many dirty newcomers like you in the entertainment industry. What wouldn't they do to climb up the ranks? Don't think I don't know about your dirty tricks. She paused and continued sarcastically, do you think the fashion show is a market? You think you can come whenever you want? This is Fashion Week, not a place for you to play house. If you want to play, go home. Don't embarrass yourself here. She looked at Xianxia after she finished speaking, but there was no trace of anger on her face. The current her was truly unfazed by honor and disgrace. No matter how big the humiliation, she could face it calmly. Are you done talking? Xianxia asked indifferently after Lin Ji finished speaking. It was as if she wasn't the one who had insulted her. You're really thick-skinned. The more Lin Ji looked at her nonchalant face, the angrier she got. She hated such an elegant and cold face the most. Just like that, she felt as if she was a clown jumping up and down with her hair standing on end after saying those humiliating words just now. She felt like she had become a joke. Indeed, Xianxia looked at her as if she was looking at a joke. Lin Ji, speaking of thick-skinned, you've shown me what it means to lie through your teeth. Xianxia's lips suddenly curled into a faint smile. Coupled with the makeup on her face, she looked like a graceful and elegant model of nobility with a threatening air of nobility. She was half a head taller than Xianxia. Hence, when Xianxia imitated Lin Ji and raised her charming chin slightly, Lin Ji had no choice but to look up at her. This made her feel inferior to Xianxia's aura. I received an invitation from the brand and came to watch the fashion show. If you have a problem with it, what's the use of looking for me? If you think I'm not good enough for the show, do you think you're good enough? After Xianxia finished speaking, she coldly sized her up again. Then, a trace of disgust appeared on her face. In terms of temperament, I'm actually very suspicious. How did you become the spokesperson of Louis Vuitton? Comparing your temperament with mine, you must be joking. Her tone was extremely arrogant. She didn't try to hide her arrogance at all. She returned the humiliation that Lin Ji had just given her. Lin Ji flew into a rage out of humiliation. Her face turned red as she glared at him. What did you say? I said, in terms of temperament, you don't deserve to be compared to me. Xianxia paused for a moment. Then, she elegantly took out an invitation from her handbag and waved it in front of her. This is an invitation. Open your eyes and look carefully. Lin Ji saw it clearly. It was indeed an invitation from Louis Vuitton. Did she really get an invitation from Louis Vuitton? Lin Ji froze on the spot. Just as Xianxia was about to enter the VIP room, Lin Ji suddenly clenched her fists and grabbed her arm. She said sharply, so what if you got an invitation? Who knows if this invitation is real or fake? Lin Ji, what do you want? Don't be rude. Chapter 1446. In that case, it's fine if you want to pick the gowns, but you'll have to wait until I'm done before you pick the rest. Yun Shishir was instantly enraged by Lin Ji's words. Lin Ji's words were simple and straightforward. She wanted to express that she was the first to arrive, so she had the right to choose the gowns prepared by the brand first. Secondly, Yun Shishir would get to pick the remaining gowns first. This was a huge humiliation. Lin Ji actually wanted her to pick the remaining gowns? Yun Shishir's beautiful eyes widened in shock. She did not expect the other to make such an outrageous request so boldly. She coldly retorted, on what basis? Why should I? Yun Shishir said expressionlessly, why should I let you pick first? Your words are too much. Why should I? If you must ask why, then it's because my status is higher than yours. Because my net worth is higher than yours. Just based on these 2 points, you have to give in to me. Is this answer enough? Lin Ji raised her head arrogantly. The space between her eyebrows was incomparably cold and aggressive, leaving no room for negotiation. Yun Shishir's cold gaze fell on the hand that was holding her wrist tightly. She said coldly, let go. Qin Zhou walked out of the VIP room and saw this scene. His eyes flickered, and he rushed up and swatted Lin Ji's hand away. Let go of your dirty hands. Don't touch our Shishir. His protectiveness for Yun Shishir was evident in his words and was on the verge of being revealed. Lin Ji took a few steps back in shock. She raised her head abruptly and looked at Qin Zhou in disbelief. She was obviously unwilling to accept this. President Qin, what are you doing? I should be asking you what you're doing. Keep your hands clean. Don't touch our Shishir. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Qin Zhou paused. He glared at her menacingly and said in a cold voice, Lin Ji, was I too polite to you just now? Do you think I'm good-tempered and easy to talk to, so you're bullying my artist? I'm warning you, you better know your place. If you dare to bully Shishir again, I won't forgive you. President Qin. Lin Ji cried out in surprise. Clearly, she found it hard to accept Qin Zhou's harsh words. However, Qin Zhou smiled coldly. I have many methods that are enough to ruin your reputation in one night. Lin Ji, if you don't believe me, just wait and see. Today is the last chance I'm giving you. If I find out that you've bullied Shishir again, don't blame me for being ruthless. After saying that, Qin Zhou grabbed Yun Shishir's hand and turned to enter the VIP room, leaving Lin Ji standing there, dumbfounded and petrified. In the VIP room, Qin Zhou poked Yun Shishir's head angrily. Little idiot, why are you being bullied again when I'm not here for a while? Yun Shishir was also a little depressed. She lowered her head and sulked. Qin Zhou was still angry. If you meet that Lin Ji in the future, don't be polite. If she scolds you once, you'll scold her 10 times. If she touches one of your fingers, you'll break all 10 of her fingers. If anything happens, I'll take responsibility. Yun Shishir was petrified. She couldn't help but look into the distance. How could she not tell that Qin Zhou was such a violent person? Chapter 1447. Qin Zhou was still angry. If you meet Lin Ji in the future, don't go easy on her. If she scolds you, you'll scold her back 10 times. If she touches one of your fingers, you'll break all 10 of her fingers. If anything happens, I'll take responsibility for it. Yun Shishir was petrified. She couldn't help but look into the distance. How could she not tell that Qin Zhou was such a violent person? There were 3 VIP rooms in Louis Vuitton's studio. Qin Zhou had specially brought Yun Shishir to the show early, so they took one room. Lin Ji took one room and started to urge the brand's representative to bring the gowns over so that she could pick first. Usually, one would have to change 2 or 3 outfits for a show. The bigger brands would have at least 4 outfits. Lin Ji was greedy and wanted to pick the best ones first, leaving the rest for Yun Shishir to pick. However, would Qin Zhou let her have her way? Impossible. Moreover, who was Qin Zhou. In the past, when she was managing Gu Xingza, she had the connections of all the big brands in her hands. If she wanted to pick a gown, she should let Yun Shishir pick first, and Lin Ji would pick the rest. Moreover, Qin Zhou had helped Yun Shishir get the role of Louis Vuitton's brand ambassador in Greater China. Although this news hadn't been announced to the public yet, the contract had been officially signed. As the prospective ambassador, Louis Vuitton naturally had to create a good image for Yun Shishir. Of course, Lin Ji didn't know about this. She really thought that Yun Shishir had come all the way to the red carpet. If she knew that Yun Shishir had accepted the invitation as the brand ambassador, she would be so angry that she would vomit blood. Therefore, when the representative of Louis Vuitton came over with the gowns, Lin Ji immediately went up to him and pretended to be reserved, saying that she wanted to pick the gown first. In the end, the representative politely said that she couldn't pick first. She would pick later. Although his words were polite and tactful, Lin Ji felt like she had been slapped in the face. She was a little unconvinced, but she pretended to be calm and asked, "Could it be that there's a bigger fashion superstar?" That person nodded and said politely, "We have to pick out the gown for the brand ambassador of the new season." Sorry for being rude. Lin Ji was embarrassed, but when she heard that the brand ambassador had the first pick, she didn't dare to object. After all, the identity of a brand ambassador was indeed more valuable than hers. However, when Lin Ji saw the person in charge lead the person holding the gown into Yun Shishir's VIP room, she was so shocked that her eyes almost popped out. She was shocked and immediately rushed up. With an ugly expression, she asked, "Did you enter the wrong room?" "No. This VIP room is used by Yun Shishir. In China, she's just a newbie." You're not joking, are you?" The embarrassment and disbelief on Lin Ji's face were evident. She thought that the person in charge had made a mistake. Unexpectedly, the other party replied, "I didn't make a mistake. Louis Vuitton's brand ambassador for the new season in Greater China is Ms. Yun Shishir." When Lin Ji heard this, her vision went dark and she almost lost her balance. The corners of her mouth twitched and she smiled awkwardly. "Are you sure? Yun Shishir. She's the brand ambassador for the new season?" Until now, there had only been one brand ambassador for Louis Vuitton in Greater China, and that was Gu Xingza. Chapter 1448. Even if she was the spokesperson for Louis Vuitton, it was just a product line under Louis Vuitton. This had already made many female celebrities grit their teeth in jealousy. To put it bluntly, she had to resort to underhanded means to snatch the resources from the other party's hands in order to take this endorsement deal. Lin Ji bit her lip hard, her eyes red with jealousy. Why? She couldn't figure it out. Lin Ji glared at the gowns, her face full of indignation. Qin Zhou opened the door and saw the person in charge. He shook his hand politely and exchanged a few pleasantries. He glanced at Lin Ji from the corner of his eye and smiled. "Hey! Why are you standing at the door? Why, do you want to try on the gowns first? But let our Yun Shishir try them on first. We'll send them to you after she's done choosing." Lin Ji stomped her foot angrily. "Humph." She turned around and went back to the VIP room. Qin Zhou rolled his eyes seductively and closed the door after welcoming the gowns in. Yun Shishir flipped through the gowns. There were a total of 10 gowns sent to her. These were the best of the best, so she had to pick first. Qin Zhou let her pick 5 gowns first. 5? So many? Please, don't tell me you want to walk through the entire fashion week with just one gown. Qin Zhou glanced at her with disdain. Yun Shishir shook her head. Suddenly, she picked up a haute couture gown and compared it to her body. Fortunately, she was tall. Otherwise, with these European and American brands, which were designed according to the model's height of 1.78 meters, it would be difficult to acclimatize to an Asian with a smaller frame. Lin Ji, who was only 1.58 meters tall, would probably cover her face and cry when it was her turn to pick out the gown. She couldn't even bring out the aura of these gowns. She didn't even know how high her stilettos would have to be to bring out her aura. Qin Zhou also went forward to pick out the gowns for her. However, no matter how he picked, he wasn't satisfied. This one doesn't have an aura. This one's color scheme is too old-fashioned. This one is too gaudy. The experienced Qin Zhou passed on a few gowns. In the end, he picked out two that were barely acceptable. Yun Shishir was in tears. Boss Qin, you're really picky. Qin Zhou raised his eyebrows, glanced at her, and said coldly, I'm not the one who picked it. Some of the gowns are too petite and can't bring out the aura. An arrow through the heart. Yun Shishir was deeply hurt and wiped her tears. But it wasn't her fault. European and American models had broad shoulders, and their frames were not small. Although she was tall, she looked delicate and boneless. These gowns were not custom-made, so they did not bring out her aura. Try this one again. Qin Zhou carefully selected another one and threw it to her. Yun Shishir gave it a try. Qin Zhou circled around her, crossed his arms, and looked her up and down. Then, he reluctantly said, not bad. Barely okay? Your frame is really small. Qin Zhou narrowed his eyes. But there's nothing I can do about it. I was born with it. Just as he finished speaking, someone knocked on the door. Qin Zhou thought it was Lin Ji looking for trouble again. He walked over with an unfriendly expression. When he opened the door, he saw a fashionably dressed woman speaking in authentic Italian. Hello. A gentleman has specially customized a gown for Miss Yun Shishir. Is it convenient for you to send it in now? Who is it? Mr. Mu. Chapter 1449. Are you sure this gown was sent here? Yes, sir. I can't be wrong. Come in. The man brought the gown in. It was a high-class gown with a cheongsam design. The gown was embellished with blue and white porcelain, which complemented her temperament and figure. However, compared to other gowns, this gown was very conservative. Other than the shoulders, every part of the gown was covered. Qin Zhou lifted the gown and looked at it. He broke out in a cold sweat. This gown was beautiful, but there was nothing special about it. It was suitable for a fashion show, but it was too plain to walk the red carpet. It should at least show off some of her long legs. It was said that it was tailor-made according to Yun Shishir's figure. Mr. Mu? Yun Shishir touched the gown. She suddenly thought of who this Mr. Mu was. Qin Zhou helped Yun Shishir into the gown. However, when she was trying it on, there was a knock on the door again. Who is it? Qin Zhou walked over and opened the door. He saw two people standing outside with gowns carefully. They were looking at each other. Qin Zhou was stunned. He looked at them again, and the corners of his lips twitched. Hello, we are here to deliver a custom-made gown for Miss Yun Shishir. Hello, we are here to deliver a custom-made gown for Miss Yun Shishir. The two of them said almost at the same time. As soon as they finished speaking, the two of them were shocked. They looked at each other again and judged each other. Qin Zhou asked hesitantly, who sent the gown? Mr. Gu. Mr. Yun. The two of them spoke at the same time again. Then, they looked at each other again, as if they were competing secretly. Qin Zhou sighed and held his forehead. He waved his hand and stepped aside. Send it in. The two of them squeezed through the doorway and fought to send the gown in. Hence, when Yun Shishir stepped out of the dressing room after trying on her gown, she saw 3 more sets of gowns being sent into the spacious VIP room. The corners of her eyes twitched violently. One of them was a gift from Mr. Yun. It was a luxurious European-style haute couture. It was Louis Vuitton's new autumn collection. It was tailor-made, and the price was not cheap. The other 2 sets were gifts from Mr. Gu. Qin Zhou glanced at the style and immediately recognized that these 2 gowns were Gu Xingzia's aesthetic. He took another look at the design and was immediately speechless. These 2 sets of clothes were also custom-made and were not cheap. Just one of the rose-colored clothes was as high as 8 figures. How extravagant. Qin Zhou was speechless. Gu Xingzi really put a lot of thought into Yun Shishir. These two outfits were the works of a master. Although they weren't Louis Vuitton's new models, both sets were out of print. Only Gu Xingzi, who had been friends with Louis Vuitton for many years, could have gotten it. Qin Zhou took a look at it. Because it was tailor-made, he guessed that Yun Shishir would definitely look good in it. However, in comparison, the qipao that Mr. Mu had sent over paled in comparison. Too conservative. It was not revealing at all. However, when walking the red carpet, it was important to be eye-catching. Therefore, Qin Zhou quickly asked Yun Shishir to hurry up and change into it. Yun Shishir had just changed into two outfits when there was a knock on the door again. Qin Zhou was stunned again and looked at the door. Who had sent the gown this time? Qin Zhou walked to the door. As soon as he opened it, he heard whispers outside. Chapter 1450. Oh my God. This gown is so beautiful. I heard this is Mark's. It's Jacob's work. It's so beautiful. I love this design element. It's Mark's out-of-print work. Qin Zhou opened the door and saw a man dressed like a gentleman standing at the door with a high-end fashion gown in his hands. Meanwhile, the stylists in the studio surrounded the gown one after another, their eyes filled with amazement and envy. Compared to this gown, the 10 gowns sent by the brand for this show were nothing. This gown was the real deal. It was breathtaking. Hello. Is it convenient for you to send the gown in now? Who sent this? Again? The man was also confused. Qin Zhou said seriously, what I mean is, who sent this gown? Hello, sir. This is the gown sent by Mr. Gong. It's an out-of-print Louis Vuitton gown. Qin Zhou was speechless. Who was Mr. Gong? When the gown was sent in, Yun Shishir happened to walk out after trying on the gown. When she saw that someone had sent in another piece of fashion, her legs went weak. Who sent this gown? Yun Shishir looked around. However, with just one glance, she was deeply stunned by this high-end gown. It was so beautiful. It was really beautiful. She was deeply amazed. This gown was simply breathtaking. This gown was different from the previous ones. It was a floor-length gown. However, the gown had a fluffy design, which accentuated her exquisite waistline. The most eye-catching part of this gown was the ink and wash elements throughout. The gradual ink color, from the design of the snow-white shoulders to the fluffy skirt, looked as if it had jumped out of an ink and wash painting from afar. It was like an immortal that had been banished from the mortal world. It was simply beautiful. It was otherworldly. It was truly otherworldly. Among all the gowns sent in from the VIP room, this was probably the only one that suited her the most. Even a picky person like Qin Zhou was deeply amazed by her beauty. Who was Mr. Gong? His taste was simply indescribable. This gown was perfect for walking the red carpet. There would be a China-style show at this year's Fashion Week, and this gown would fit the theme perfectly. It would definitely attract everyone's attention. Putting everything else aside, this gown alone was enough to guarantee that it would make the headlines. It was not because of anything else, but because this dress was a priceless and magnificent treasure. It was said that this gown was Mark's out-of-print design and was worth 9 figures. What an extravagant move. Qin Zhou could not help but sigh. Who exactly is this Mr. Gong? Mr. Gong? Yun Shishir was a little surprised. Was this gown sent by Mr. Gong? Yes. Qin Zhou nodded and glanced at her. Is this Mr. Gong your friend? Yun Shishir was stunned for a while. Then, her gaze fell on the dress and she smiled knowingly. She seemed to have guessed who this Mr. Gong was. Little Jia must have sent it over. But how did he know that she was at Fashion Week and that he would deliver a dress at such an opportune time? Shishir, try this gown on. You should look beautiful in it. Qin Zhou urged her. Yun Shishir nodded and carried the gown into the fitting room. About 10 minutes later, Yun Shishir changed into the gown with the help of her assistant. She lifted the hem of the dress and walked out of the fitting room. Chapter 1451. Xianxia was dressed in a gorgeous gown. It had a snow-white background with a gradual ink and wash pattern that extended from her waist all the way to the hem of the gown. Coupled with her silky black hair that reached her waist, her gorgeous makeup, and the rich Chinese style, she looked dazzling. She was too beautiful, so beautiful, that no one could find a single flaw in it. Even Qin Zhou, who had an exceptionally sharp gaze, couldn't find any flaws in it. It was as if this gown was made for her. At that moment, Qin Zhou couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Who exactly was Mr. Gong, who had chosen this gown? He had such great taste. When this gown was worn by Xianxia, it instantly captured everyone's attention. Walking on the red carpet would definitely be a sight to behold. This gown was extremely compatible with Xianxia. Other people probably wouldn't be able to bring out the aura of this gown. As for the other gowns, it would probably be very difficult to bring out Xianxia's fairy-like beauty and elegance. A rare satisfied smile appeared on Qin Zhou's face. He praised, "Xianxia, you look so beautiful in this gown." Xianxia blushed charmingly. "Boss Qin, it's rare for you to praise me like this." "That's because it's really beautiful. I can't find a single flaw in it." Xianxia was a little surprised. Even Qin Zhou was praising her so openly. She must be really beautiful. She walked in front of the mirror. However, when the mirror reflected her fairy-like gown, Xianxia was stunned. Oh my god, it was really beautiful. "Xianxia, you'll wear this gown on the red carpet tonight," Qin Zhou instructed. Xianxia nodded. Then, she glanced at the other gowns and asked tentatively, "Then, what about the other gowns that were sent here? As for the rest, we'll leave them for the show. I feel that the effects of the other gowns are about the same. They're not as stunning as this one. You can pick 4 gowns." Qin Zhou left the choice in her hands. Xianxia picked 4 pieces. While she was choosing, her cell phone suddenly rang. Xianxia hurriedly picked up the phone. Gong Jie's mysterious and magnetic voice came from the other end. "Baby, do you like the gift I sent you?" When Xianxia heard his voice, she squinted her eyes and smiled. "Shao Jia, it's you." Gong Jie snorted coldly and pretended to be angry. "Now you recognize my voice? I'm so touched." "Hey, don't make fun of me," Xianxia complained. Then, her eyes curved slightly. "I've received your gift. I like it very much." "Thank you." "For what?" Gong Jia was a little displeased. He didn't like her saying thank you to him. It seemed very distant. In the future, you're not allowed to say thank you or sorry to me. These 2 words, understand? All right. Xianxia naturally listened to him. "Shao Jia, this gown is really beautiful. Your taste is really unique." "Of course. I'm very picky when it comes to beauty." Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. In the luxurious presidential suite of the Manhattan Hotel, Gong Jie stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window in a bathrobe, looking at the dark city in the distance. He held the phone in his hand, but his tone was tender and affectionate. "A beautiful dress can only show its value when worn by you." Xianxia blushed. His words were full of love. Even Gong Jie couldn't feel how much he loved Xianxia. He wanted to spoil her to the bone. Chapter 1452. As soon as he found out about Xianxia's announcement, he began to look for a gown to wear on the red carpet. After looking around, he finally picked this one. He had spent a high price to buy this gown. At first, the financier was unwilling. This gown was a priceless treasure. Someone had once offered a 9-figure sum for it, but they did not get what they wanted. However, who was Gong Jie? He refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. He held a gun to the financier's head and half bought and half snatched the gown. In his eyes, only this gown was worthy of his sister. Other than his sister, no one else was worthy. His usual domineering style was undoubtedly reflected. As long as sister likes it. Gong Jia paused for a moment and said, "It's just right for you to wear on the red carpet." He wanted his sister to appear beautiful in front of the camera. Yin Shishir could not help but laugh. "Won't this be too high profile? What are you afraid of? Sister is so beautiful. Is there anything wrong with being high profile?" Gong Jia retorted confidently. Yin Shishir was instantly speechless and could only smile. "Shao Jia, I'm going to do my styling. I'll text you when I'm back." "Okay." Yin Shishir hung up the phone and was pushed by Qin Zhou to do the last step of her styling. After changing into the gown, she had to adjust her hairstyle. Qin Zhou instructed the stylist to give her a classic and gorgeous hairstyle. Coupled with the ink gown, she was simply too beautiful. Thus, when she walked out of the VIP room, she coincidentally bumped into Lin Ji, who had also changed into her gown. When Lin Ji saw Yin Shishir in her gorgeous gown, she was stunned. In an instant, she felt that the European-style gown on her paled in comparison. She had spent a lot of effort. In the end, when she walked out and saw Yin Shishir's gorgeous aura, she suddenly felt that her gown was too plain no matter how she looked at it. She was completely outclassed. They hadn't even stepped on the red carpet, but the difference between them was obvious. Lin Ji thought that Yin Shishir's gown was a gift from the brand and felt that Yin Shishir had stolen her limelight. Thus, she said unhappily, "This gown should have been mine." She was being unreasonable, but Yin Shishir couldn't be bothered with her and didn't even look at her. Lin Ji felt even more indignant. She said angrily, "I should have picked the gown first. Yin Shishir, take it off and let me wear it." Qin Zhou couldn't take it anymore. "Lin Ji, are you crazy? Did he take medicine when he went out? Don't be unreasonable here." "Unreasonable?" Lin Ji's face flushed red from Qin Zhou's scolding. "Qin Zhou, don't think you can bully others just because you have some background and tricks up your sleeve," she argued. "You're clearly bullying me, aren't you? Why should Yin Shishir have the first pick of the gown sent by the brand? Isn't it just to make fun of me? Make fun of you?" When Qin Zhou heard that, he sneered. "Lin Ji, how shameless are you that I have to put in the effort to make fun of you? Don't think too highly of yourself. You're making a fool of yourself." "I don't care." Lin Ji felt extremely indignant and started to throw a tantrum. "Anyway, this gown belongs to me. Give it back to me. Get lost." Qin Zhou had completely lost his patience. He waved his hand as if he was shooing away an annoying fly. He was so annoyed by this Lin Ji. Chapter 1453. Lin Ji stared at him in a daze. Her eyes reddened when she heard Qin Zhou tell her to get lost so rudely. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she choked out, "You guys are too much. You guys are too much." Qin Zhou imitated Lin Ji's coquettish and pretentious face to the point that it was carved into the wood. The people in the studio couldn't help but laugh. Lin Ji's face grew paler and paler as she glared at him with bloodshot eyes. If looks could kill, Qin Zhou would have died 10,000 times over. Yin Shishir's face turned cold. How could Lin Ji be so shameless? She rarely used the word shameless to describe a girl. However, Lin Ji was worthy of the word. Female celebrities in the entertainment industry were all like that. If they had a chance to climb up the ranks, they would use all means and resources to their advantage. "Oh, don't show such a disgusting face. Don't you feel disgusted? This gown doesn't belong to you. Even if it did, such a noble gown would look like a cheap gown on you. Why don't you take a look at your own body? Your legs are so short. Can they hold up the aura of this gown?" Qin Zhou mocked her mercilessly. Lin Ji's face was completely peeled off, leaving nothing behind. Lin Ji's lips trembled, but she couldn't refute him. Yin Shishir was too dazzling at this moment. Even if she didn't want to admit it, she had to admit that this gown suited Yin Shishir very well. It was too beautiful. She couldn't refute him at all. People were like this. Once they faced someone who was more dazzling and outstanding than them, they would feel ashamed of their inferiority. At the same time, they wouldn't have the confidence to argue. He could only watch helplessly as Qin Zhou led Yun Shishir into a luxurious Bentley and sped off. Lin Ji watched them leave with a vicious gaze. She was so angry that she gritted her teeth. In the car, Qin Zhou edited the photo that Yun Shishir had taken in the VIP room and uploaded it to Weibo. There was a professional retoucher in the team. With a little bit of effort, he adjusted the color of the image and uploaded it. With Yun Shishir's unique condition, she didn't need to spend too much effort in the post-production process. She just needed to adjust the color a little and it was done. As soon as the photo was uploaded, the media, who had been on standby, immediately began to publicize it. Beauty reaches new heights. Beautiful beyond the heavens. Photo killer. The draft was inseparable from these praises, changing the soup but not the medicine. Weibo instantly blew up as well. Yun Shishir had been in the limelight recently. Coupled with her participation in the Milan Fashion Week, she was in the limelight. The first thing Qin Zhou did was to upload the beautiful photos taken by the studio and seize the initiative. Thus, the prelude to the Fashion Week began. Manhattan Hotel, Presidential Suite. Gong Jia sat on the sofa, browsing Weibo. He did not have a Weibo account before, but when he learned that Yun Shishir had opened a verified account, he secretly registered an account and only followed Yun Shishir and Yun Shishir's studio accounts. Yun Shishir's studio account was carefully managed by Qin Zhou. Therefore, he saw the photo that Yun Shishir's studio had released immediately. Chapter 1454. She lifted her chin slightly. Her meticulously styled hair made her face look as fair as jade. From the moment he saw this gown, he was certain that his sister would be stunningly beautiful in it. Hence, he took a photo of it without hesitation. However, it turned out that this gown was indeed quite suitable. Gong Jia could not help but smile when he saw this photo. Sis is so beautiful. He sighed softly, not bothering to hide the amazement in his eyes. Yun Shishir walking the red carpet in the gown he had sent her made him feel extremely satisfied. On the other hand, a certain man at the airport was holding his phone. When he clicked on a Weibo post and saw Yun Shishir posing in the ink-style gown in the photo, his eyes darkened. Wuxia could not help but furrow his brows deeply. This gown was too revealing. Although the skirt was long and covered a pair of beautiful legs, due to the strapless design, almost all the scenery below her shoulders and above her breasts were exposed. He did not like her dressing so conspicuously. All the beauty on her body should be enjoyed by him alone. Hence, when he learned that she was going to the fashion show, he immediately sent someone to send a gown to her at the thought of those female celebrities wearing revealing outfits in the past fashion shows. Only a pair of fragrant shoulders were exposed, and the rest was covered tightly. He thought that she would wear it on the red carpet when she learned that he was the one who had sent it. However, the photo she uploaded was of this gown. This made him especially unhappy. It was too revealing. He did not like it. He especially did not like her dressing like this. When Minyu rushed over with the plane ticket, he saw Wuxia in a terrible mood. His hand was gripping his phone so tightly that it turned white and the veins on the back of his hand were bulging. Oh. Boss seems to be very angry. Minyu stole a glance from the corner of his eye and saw Yun Shishir's stunning photo on the phone screen. His eyes were filled with amazement. Wuxia sensed his gaze and looked up abruptly to give him a warning glare. Feeling awkward, Minyu immediately pretended not to see it. He whistled and looked around. Have you sent that gown over? Yes. I've sent it over. Minyu immediately replied, I immediately called the higher-ups of Louis Vuitton after you gave me your instructions. I specially selected a relatively conservative gown. Is it the cheongsam you showed me? That's right. How? Isn't Madame wearing it? As soon as Minyu finished speaking, he saw Wuxia's face darken, so he obediently shut his mouth. All right, Madame must not be wearing it. That's why the boss is so angry. Boss, Madame looks great in this gown. Minyu exclaimed in admiration. However, it didn't matter if he didn't say this, but once he did, a certain old cadre's face became even gloomier. Min Yu's bootlicking was definitely from the wrong angle. Looking at Mu Yaja's darkening face, Min Yu decided to keep his mouth shut. The more he spoke, the more wrong he felt. Mu Yaja turned off his phone and boarded the plane. It was about a 10-hour journey. This stupid woman, I must settle the score with her. Yu Yu sat in front of the computer and scrolled through Weibo. She saw the photo uploaded by Yun Shishir's studio. Her first reaction was that it was exceptionally stunning. Chapter 1455. His mommy looked stunning in this gown. She looked like a real fairy and was indescribably beautiful. His second reaction, however, was disappointment. He had clearly sent a gown to his mommy. Why didn't she wear it? He had spent so much time choosing the dress so that his mommy could wear it to the fashion show. However, in the photo that was posted on Weibo, she was wearing a different dress. He couldn't help but feel a little disappointed and frustrated. Xiao Yichen stood at the side and looked at Yun Shishir's elegant and luxurious posture in the photo. He instantly turned into a fanboy. Mommy is so beautiful, it took him a long time to resist the urge to pounce on the screen and lick it. Yu Yu glanced at him coldly. Mu Yichen, you're really promising. Xiao Yichen defended himself, feeling wronged. Why? Mommy is so beautiful. Don't you think so? Yu Yu was stunned. His gaze fell on the photo again. As he looked at his mommy in the photo, his eyes could not help but become infatuated. Beautiful, he couldn't help but sigh. Although his mommy did not wear the gown he had sent and was rather disappointed, she did look beautiful in it. The little lad instantly felt satisfied. Just as he was still staring at the beautiful photo in a daze and could not take his eyes off it, his phone rang. When he picked up the call, he could hear Gong Jia's slightly smug tone. Gong Jia, little nephew, have you seen the beautiful photo your mommy uploaded on Weibo? Yu Yu, he was stunned for a moment and then narrowed his eyes suspiciously. Are you following mommy's Weibo, too? Gong Jia admitted it frankly. His Weibo account was created for Yun Shishir, and he only followed the accounts of Yun Shishir and her studio. He only followed Yun Shishir's updates. Hearing his smug tone, Yun Tianyu wondered who he was. Being meticulous and intelligent, he immediately smelled something fishy. Did you give mommy this gown? Gong Jia's tone became even more smug as he asked smugly, the gown your mommy is wearing is carefully selected by me. Is she beautiful? It was actually him. In an instant, Yu Yu felt indignant. It was not perfect. He thought that Yun Shishir's gown was arranged by the brand, but he did not expect it to be a gift from Gong Jia. He was obviously here to show off his prowess. I can't accept this. Uncle, are you showing off your aesthetic sense to me? Yu Yu snorted. Gong Jia smiled as well. Her smile made the boy feel even more uncomfortable. It was sour. Yu Yu unceremoniously hung up the call. He crossed his arms and leaned against the computer chair angrily as he stared at Yun Shishir's beautiful photo. His little face looked like a pink bun. Xiao Yichen, on the other hand, was still sprawled in front of the computer as he stared at Yun Shishir's beautiful photo in infatuation. Holding his little face, his eyes turned into crescents. Mommy is so beautiful. So beautiful. So beautiful, Yu Yu was flustered. Shut up. With that, he closed Weibo, stood up, walked to the bookshelf, grabbed a reference book, and sat on the sofa to read it. Xiao Yichen muttered under his breath, what's wrong? Why are you angry again for no reason? Be quiet. Yu Yu could not help rebuking him and continued reading. Chapter 1456. By the time Qin Zhou and Yun Shishir arrived at the venue, there were already quite a number of female celebrities present, even though it was considered early. However, these female celebrities weren't big shots. After all, big shots were all about being the last to appear. The later they appeared, the more prominent their status would be. These female celebrities all relied on media invitations to get into Fashion Week. They were all there to ride on the popularity of Fashion Week. At Fashion Week, the stars were shining and the lights were flashing. Various female celebrities were competing with each other among the media. They were constantly styling and accepting the baptism of the media spotlight. Getting into Fashion Week was like getting a diploma from the Fashion University. Their agents also got a ticket to negotiate overseas brand endorsements. It was much easier than working hard to appear in a literary film that no one cared about and squeezing onto the red carpet of an international film festival. However, how to improve one's fashion skills in just 7 days depended on each person's attainments. A show lasted at most 10 minutes. Before the show started, the celebrities had to socialize with various celebrities. Since it was Fashion Week, watching the show was of utmost importance. Just like domestic press conferences, there was an unwritten rule that all shows would start half an hour later than the scheduled time. According to a luxury brand's PR, this 30 minutes was specially reserved for the guests to socialize. For example, some celebrities would use this time to get close to the brand's executives and greet the good sisters that they met by chance. In order to watch the show, the celebrities spent a lot of energy on dressing and styling. In addition to carefully choosing clothes and matching styles, just combing their hair and makeup would take a few hours. The actual time they had to watch the show was only enough to listen to a few songs. Usually, a brand press conference would last about 5 minutes. There would be more than 30 sets of the latest clothes on display. Some big shows would have more clothes. The models would go on stage one after another and it would be over in 10 minutes at most. When the show was over, many celebrities would immediately get up and leave in a hurry because they had to rush to the next show. Some celebrities were also in a hurry to greet the media at the door. Qin Zhou arrived early with Yun Shishir to introduce her to the top executives of various fashion brands, producers, and directors. After all, she was a newcomer. Although Qin Zhou had invested a lot of resources in her, she still had many shortcomings. In just 10 minutes, Yun Shishir was introduced to the 3 Hollywood investors by Qin Zhou. A grand introduction was made in front of them. The investors were very satisfied with Yun Shishir's temperament and qualifications. Yun Shishir's face was a classic beauty. In Hollywood, she was very popular. Qin Zhou's social skills were absolutely top-notch. He negotiated a job for Yun Shishir on the spot. Recently, Hollywood was preparing to shoot a commercial blockbuster with the theme of American heroism. In recent years, the backbone of Hollywood had been increasingly migrating to the mainland market. In terms of casting, they paid more attention to adding Asian faces. With the connections he had accumulated in Hollywood, he managed to secure a role for her on the spot. Although she was just a supporting role with a small screen, being able to show her face in Hollywood and further her studies was also the best way to raise her status. Chapter 1457. 10 minutes before the show started, Lin Ji and a group of female celebrities arrived. It wasn't that they were putting on airs. As a rising star in the entertainment industry, Lin Ji couldn't wait to get to the show as soon as possible. She wanted to grab more attention and interact with more celebrities. However, Lin Ji and the other female celebrities were delayed at the entrance for a long time because of a problem with their passes. By the time she rushed to the show, Yun Shishir had already finished taking photos with various celebrities and was seated at the show. Unfortunately, just as Lin Ji was about to rush to the scene to attract more attention from the media, Han Yuyan arrived. Han Yuyan was already a senior figure in the fashion industry. She had worked with many famous brands and celebrities. She could be considered a veteran in the industry. With her around, Lin Ji couldn't steal the limelight at all. She didn't dare to. With Han Yuyan's status, even if she wanted to, she didn't have the guts. Therefore, she could only watch as the media rushed to Han Yuyan with their cameras raised. Han Yuyan stood on the red carpet in a custom-made Chanel gown. At this moment, she was the absolute star of the show. Many domestic and foreign media surrounded her like stars surrounding the moon. Her every move was the focus of everyone's attention. In contrast, Lin Ji looked calm and at ease. At this moment, in front of her, there were many people at the entrance. As a rising star in the fashion industry, no one paid attention to her. Moreover, her gown was left behind by Yun Shishir. Her starlight was dim and no one cared. Lin Ji hated Yun Shishir to the core. She wanted to cut this stumbling block into pieces. If she hadn't stepped in, she would have been the one to wear that gown. Then, in today's show, with that gown, she should have been the center of attention. But now, Lin Ji looked at the scene where no one cared about her. She felt so wrong that she wanted to cry. Her assistant suddenly saw a push notification on Weibo. She clicked on it and saw a photo of Yun Shishir and the Empress Dowager. She showed the phone to Lin Ji. Lin Ji took a look and her eyes turned red with anger. Empress Dowager was just a nickname. The Empress Dowager's real name was Karl Lagerfeld. He was the artistic director of Chanel and was regarded as the mascot of Fashion Week. There was a famous saying in the fashion industry. He was not a real man until he reached the Great Wall. It would be a pity if he could not take a photo with the Empress Dowager. No matter how famous a celebrity was, they would try their best to ask the brand's PR to arrange a photo with the Empress Dowager. Yun Shishir's photo with the Empress Dowager had stolen the limelight. Qin Zhou had a close relationship with Chanel's PR department. Therefore, he arranged for Yun Shishir to meet Karl. However, to Qin Zhou's surprise, Yun Shishir's English was unexpectedly proficient, and she was able to talk fluently with various celebrities. This was something that Lin Ji couldn't compare to. Lin Ji's English was close to zero. Lin Ji wasn't the only one. Many domestic celebrities' English wasn't up to standard. Many celebrities would rather miss the opportunity to interact with the big shots than embarrass themselves at the Fashion Week. Fashion Week was an important arena of Fashion Week. Other than watching the shows, taking photos, and taking street photos, there was also the brand dinner. At this time, Yun Shishir, the top student and campus belle, learned English in her 4 years of university hard work. Chapter 1458. Lin Ji's face darkened. The thought of Yun Shishir stealing the limelight at the Fashion Week made her so angry that she wanted to smash her phone. The show was about to start. Lin Ji had no choice but to look around and find a large chibi doll of the Empress Dowager. She reluctantly took a photo with it to prove her presence at the Fashion Week. Yun Shishir and Qin Zhou arrived at the venue and prepared to sit down under the arrangement of the brand's public relations team. Lin Ji's seat was in the front row of the show's VIP section. However, when Yun Shishir walked to her seat, she found a problem. Her seat was taken by someone else. It was a very familiar face. Li Mengqi, an international supermodel and the previous spokesperson of Louis Vuitton. Yun Shishir was stunned. She thought she had gone to the wrong seat, but after looking around, she was sure that her seat was taken. The VIP section of the show was a symbol of status. Now, all the major brands knew that the mainland was the future of all luxury goods. Pleasing the female stars from China was an important part of their public relations activities. It was definitely a glorious thing to be able to sit in the front row of the show. Many female stars wanted to steal the limelight, but not everyone could. Sitting in the front row and sitting next to each other became a bargaining chip for all the female celebrities to compete with. For example, being able to sit with a Hollywood superstar was definitely a symbol of infinite dignity. The seat next to Anna, the editor-in-chief of the American version of Vogue, also attracted attention. However, some people couldn't get the seat, so they came up with despicable tricks. For example, they rushed to the show early, tore off the paper with the stars' names on it, and sat down themselves. When the Real celebrities entered the venue, they found that there was another person in their seat. When the lights dimmed and the show was about to start, they couldn't say anything and could only squeeze in. Li Mengqi must have arrived early. When she saw the name Yun Shishir on the front row, she felt strange. She tore it off without hesitation and sat down with a clear conscience. Yun Shishir said politely, "Hello, this is my seat." However, Li Mengqi didn't seem to hear what she said. Her eyes were still looking straight ahead, treating her like air. Yun Shishir reminded her again, "Miss, you're sitting in my seat. Could you please move aside?" She raised her voice slightly. Seeing that Li Mengqi was still ignoring her, Yun Shishir spoke again in English. He raised his voice slightly, attracting the attention of the surrounding people, who all looked over. Only then did Li Mingqi raise her head, but she asked in a neutral tone, "This is your seat, but I don't see your name written on it." The mockery in his words was obvious. Yin Shishir was speechless. Obviously, Li Mingqi didn't know her. She was an international supermodel and had been developing her career on the runway overseas all year round. This time, because of her schedule, she didn't manage to get an invitation letter. Therefore, she rushed to the show early and occupied a seat. She saw that the name Yin Shishir next to Han Yuyan was a little unfamiliar, so she tore it off without thinking.